Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host Kyle, joined here by my friends Dan and Matt. We're gonna jump into what we've been playing. I mean, it's January. It's kind of the slower time as we kind of grind towards February, where I think things start to come out and ramp up. Although you and I specifically, Dan, been talking about I reserved one game yesterday.
So
I have nothing like major title reserved.
I put in
stuff.
my 3 reserves today. So you want to hear what the banger
Run 'em
3
down.
reserves I did? And I only did 3 because I couldn't do 4 because the other one we talked about I can't get.
Okay.
So I did my Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster because I need that.
Okay.
I did the Claire Obscure game because
I don't have because I want
Game
a physical
Pass,
copy.
but I want a physical copy of it.
I do too.
And GameStop does have because that game's only $50, which is cool.
It's only $50, yeah.
But GameStop has a $70 steelbook with like the bonus shit. So I figure I'll wait for it to come out, and if the reviews are 8s and 9s, then I'll get that version. If it's like 6s and stuff, it's like I'll probably just get the regular version. Something like that. And then the other one I did, and I finally just talked myself into this because why not? But I did the Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic for the Switch.
Yeah, we talked about
Even if it's not great, I don't care. I fucking love the original Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like everything since like RCT 3 way back when has been pure garbage. If it has the Roller Coaster Tycoon, that's out in April, but it's only $30.
Not bad.
And it's literally the first game with all the expansions just for Switch.
Yeah, because
nice.
Even if it ends up not being a good version of it, it's still something cool.
It's a 20-year-old game. It fucking better run properly on the Switch.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
But on the Switch too, I guess maybe it'll be more powerful. But that's kind of it. I went through like the GameStop site, Best Buy site, and all that stuff, and I just was like, show me the games that are coming out in like the next 3, 4, 5 months. And like I had to reach to get to these. The Claire Obscure is maybe the biggest one of anything.
It's weird. It is weird to me when I look through everything because I had the same thing where I looked at just what I have on Amazon right now, and I have the only other thing I have is that Lunar collection.
Yeah, and that's the one I can't get because I did not realize that was Amazon only when you said that to me, and then I looked it up and I saw it was. I was like, oh, it came fine.
To be fair, I had no idea that was going to sell, and then I went and looked, and like it is like even
the
Xbox
every version is gone. I know
that's usually the one that would hang around the longest
forever. So
that's crazy that one is.
I just check it every day now, and I have my fingers crossed that it'll show up. And I told you, like, if you see it, just buy another copy.
I keep an eye on it. So, but I have that, and I have the Suikoden, and then the other day I was like, I kind of want to own this Claire Obscure game because it seems I would be shocked if it comes out and it doesn't get good reviews.
Right, I mean,
it actually is looking pretty good.
And it's like $70 the regular price for a game, and I get like a steelbook and some other stuff. I'm willing to do that for this game.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
But just looking at everything else, like I was mildly interested in Kingdom Come 2, but I haven't even really played the first one, so I need to do that before I play that one. So it's like I could put that on hold. You and I have talked about Monster Hunter. That can be a Black Friday game after like maybe 6 months of patches.
That game will go on sale like crazy
so many times.
If it's like the first one, the early couple months, it's a great game, but the early couple months were rough.
That's another one, and just I'm not interested in Assassin's Creed, so I've been waiting, and I mean we'll talk about it in the news, but those are the stuff that I'm interested in. Ironically, are spring Game Pass releases. So like obviously we know Claire Obscure is one of them, but like Doom now is dated for May, so like I'm gonna play that. Avowed is out in mid-February. I'm definitely gonna play Avowed as well. Yeah, it's still set.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they've seen it's got gold yet, but I would have to imagine it's going to soon. So
I would have to hope so. Like it's January 24th, man.
If that game gets delayed, I'm not going to be upset about it because I view that as a Game Pass game. So
true.
And then also that South of Midnight game is out in April as well. I was kind of hoping that they would have spread some of that stuff out a little bit, because they're like 2 weeks apart, that and Clair Obscura, but I will check that out at some point as well, because I think that looks cool. But that, I mean, again, those are all games that I'm just going to be able to play on Game Pass. So that's why I was like, well, there really just isn't a lot. So, but Doom's a big one. That's probably right now, because we don't know what the landscape of the fall.
That's the last thing that like you have a date on that you feel confident is probably real.
Oh, that date's real.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, you have confidence in that date. Like, everything else is...
I do. I mean, I'll say from everything they showed of that, it looks like we're ready to go on that game. They're just cleaning it up. So we'll talk more about that in the news. But yeah, it's a weird time. So, but I'm not complaining because I have a shit ton of stuff just between the Black Friday purchases and everything. So, but the biggest thing, the most that I've played in the last 2 weeks has been just crushing out this Red Dead Redemption. I hesitate to use the word remaster because it really isn't, I guess, or I don't think they view it as, but it kind of feels like it. Like it's a very polished, clean.
Remember, it's almost a demaster because they took out stuff.
Well, yeah. So the thing here is, and the one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit about it is, so they took out the multiplayer, which I don't care about.
It's
that
fine.
part of it.
I joke about it. It's not that big of a deal.
But what I wish they would have done with the trophies is they merged all the Undead Nightmare stuff in the same trophy list. They don't do like that breakout.
Oh, the DLC list and stuff.
Yeah. So it's all part of the platinum. So if you want to go for the platinum in it, you have to do everything in the Undead Nightmare as well.
Oh, I mean, you're going to anyway, but
I am. I'm probably I've completed the story. I grinded through that. Right now, I'm just doing a bunch of the challenges and stuff. I still have a couple hideouts to do. Just basically clean up stuff in that game. And then I will probably shelf it. I don't think I'm going to just jump right into the Undead Nightmare. So that's a good thing. Maybe I'll even shelve it and wait till like Halloween or something around that time. But I don't feel like I'm not like itching to jump into the Undead Nightmare. So, but I've played a lot of it. It just reminds me of how good that game is. And then I will still go back and say like Bully is my definitive favorite Rockstar game. This is probably a close
Red Dead
second.
Is my favorite one. Like,
this is probably a close second.
And like, I love LA Noire and stuff too, but I admit that game has flaws, which the more you play that game, the more apparent they become.
Every desk is the same.
Well, there's that, and it just like the story kind of fizzles. It feels like it's building to something.
Yeah.
And then it bombs towards the end when you play like the arson deaths. But Red Dead has that. I mean, to be fair, Red Dead kind of bombs after you die. And you have to play as the son because the son is not likable in a way that John is. But
he's not as likable of a character as John is.
But it ends the story. Like it does like fill it out.
And see, and that's the fun thing is like when I originally played the game, and obviously that scene happens. I mean, I think everybody knows it's a spoiler for a 15-year-old game, but
I think that makes for a better like ending if that were to be like the end, and then. You reload before that to do whatever else. But
but at the same time, you wanted that revenge as the son. But I think what would have been a more interesting idea would have been to do that, let you play as the son, and then when you complete the story, give you the option to go back and play as John before that.
Or the son stuff should have been DLC.
Because I think that would have been
like they weren't afraid to do. No, Undead Nightmare, like then. The Sun stuff could have been another DLC pack for it and stretch the game up. But
do you know? So you haven't played. I know you haven't played much of Red Dead 2, but do you know like how that one wraps up in the what the difference is?
I don't know if I ever
has that been spoiled for you or not?
No, okay. I don't think so.
Do you? I mean, I guess. Do you want to know?
Like, no, I don't. Don't tell me because that actually is on the list of like.
It is on the list.
The short list of
spoilers
to pick from playing it.
It actually led me when I was looking at my shelf, and I realized I never bought a physical copy of Red Dead 2. So I bought over the weekend because it was like $20 at Best Buy. I got a PS4 copy. So at some point, I will replay Red Dead 2 because it's been long enough that I remember beats of the story, but. that game also significantly more content than the original Red Dead.
Oh God, it's just like
it's insane.
I've played some of it, but not a ton. Like I got to that New Orleans style town, and that's kind of when I stopped.
The map is insanely huge.
Like, yeah, it's overwhelming almost.
I've done most of the stranger stuff. I had forgotten, and they remember the one stranger that's like supposed to. I guess he is the devil. You know what I'm talking about? The hack guy?
Death.
He's death. Okay. They do something much cooler with him in the second game than in the original game. Because it fills in that like weird painting in that cabin.
Right.
Of his.
I do know about that. Yeah.
That stuff is really cool, and I think like. There are elements in this game where they kind of tap into like spooky territory, and I think all of that stuff is done better in Red Dead 2. But
okay,
and that stuff is tremendous in that game. But this one, just going back, it's a reminder of how good and how well written these stories were for these different games, and it also reminds me like as we approach GTA 6, like those Hauser brothers aren't there. They didn't write GTA 6.
True, but GTA 6 has been in development for so long, such a long time.
Yeah. I'm sure that like their hands touched it before they left for sure.
But if you want to talk about like Red Dead 2 being overwhelming compared to like the last one,
overwhelming.
6 is going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
Even 5, like 5 is insane as it is. 6 is going to be next level stuff, which is exciting.
Let me ask this: do you think that whenever they decide to throw out another trailer, do you think that's when we get like I'm not going to say it's the definitive release date, but you think we get a tighter window?
Maybe a tighter window, because the big thing right now is it's definitely coming out in 25. It's like I haven't seen anything that proves to me that game is coming out this year.
I think you're going to get that trailer middle of the year, and I think it will end with a spring 2026.
It'd be a banger.
That's what I think.
It'd be a banger of an E3 timed thing when E3 used to be.
And they can do their own thing. Like they can literally just put that trailer on YouTube one day and be like, "Here you go."
Mm-hmm. If they want to win that time period of the show, they can win.
Well, remember too, like I don't think they're like the fourth quarter for them ends until end of March. So
that's how most companies work.
Realistically, I can see the game being a March 2026 release because it'll technically still hit.
Could be.
And they can put like that is much like Nintendo. They can put the game out whenever they want. It doesn't matter.
Right, because that game is its own holiday.
It's its own thing.
It's its own day. It's they get to pick what day they want it to release.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting.
It's going to sell 100 million copies regardless of the day it comes out.
But yeah, So I've had a lot of fun playing Red Dead. I'm close to being at the point where I'm like, all right, I'm good here. I had installed, and I will probably start looking at this along with something else. But I realized when I was looking through, even though I actually own this game on every platform somehow. I've never played Agents of Mayhem. I own it on the Xbox, I own it on PlayStation, and I own it on Steam. So at some point, I think I got it like as a key on something at one point, and then it was a gold game or a plus game at some point.
I got it for free from GameStop.
I want to say they gave it to you as a manager because you were still there. Yeah. I want to say it was one of those, but I never played it. I remember we were kind of excited about when it was announced, and then the
there's no co-op
realization of there's no co-op killed them.
Absolutely murders that game because
I feel like just a little bit I kind of touched with it because I just played like the intro of it the other night. It would be such a better co-op game.
Hey man, you're talking to someone who's platinumed that game.
No, I know you have.
And not many people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because it should be a Saints Row game, but it's more of a Crackdown game, and it's not a Crackdown 1 game. It's more of a Crackdown.
It feels like they're pushed to make their own version of G.I. Joe. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, it's like a mix of that kind of stuff.
And it reminds me of Crackdown in that way too.
It has good things going for it, but playing through that entire thing single player, it's just not great.
Yeah, like I didn't dislike what I played, but I wasn't drawn in by it either. It just was kind of.
I don't know why I felt forced to do. Maybe because I realized. I think it's because I realized I was like, I probably can do this.
Yeah.
So why don't I just give it a shot? And it turns out that like, it's a collectible game because you have to climb to the top of every building and all that shit too.
Laundry Store Simulator, I'm at the point now where I can put a pin on that until they do another update, because there's literally nothing else for me to do in that game. I've hit the wall of like, all right, I've done all the content that you put in this game. I got to wait for the next drop of like the next door I can open of this building to, increase money. So I have gone back to Supermarket Simulator because they put out the shoplifting update. So you can now put security cameras in, and you can put them wherever you want in the store. You can also get like the little I forget what it's called, like when you put in front of the, like when you were gonna walk in and out of a store, the little electric
like security things.
Yeah, security thing. You can put those in there. And yeah, so literally how it works is when you put up your cameras, it'll detect if somebody is stealing. As long as you have a camera facing that way, it'll put a little icon above that person's head, and then you go and you just hit them with a bat, and they'll drop they'll drop whatever they're stealing. And one of the other, so there's been a couple quality of life updates for this game since I have played it. So you can now carry around a crate that you can just put random items in. So that's what you do. Like when you hit them with the bat, they'll drop random shit that they're stealing, and you can put it in that crate and then put it back on the shelf. They've also put in cleaning. So you can now like clean the windows, you can clean the floors, like people will spill shit.
That's cool.
It's like, so you'll have somebody pick up detergent and drop it and it'll just spill. So yeah, it's getting like, the thing that's cool about that game is as you progress and you get to the point where it's like, okay, I have these cashiers, they're doing all the checkout stuff. I have these stockers, they're stocking everything. What am I supposed to do? They keep adding more stuff that you can do while those people are doing stuff. So I don't think it's close to its 1.0. I think it's getting there, but we're still not at a 1.0 for it. But I will go back to this now that update's come out. Like I said, the trading card game, it needs a lot more work at this point, and I got tired of it breaking the mods. So because literally every time they put a patch, it breaks the Pokemon mod. Yeah. And then Laundry Store, like I said, they need to put the next round of like, because I'm literally max level, so I have to wait for the next update when they're like, okay, now you can get to level 6. And here's the next, because there's like 2 locked doors in this building yet that I can't unlock until they patch it in. So. But yeah, and then the last thing obviously is like you and I have been playing Godfall.
Yeah. Well, we're in the cleanup phase now, where we finished the story,
a wonderful story that I couldn't tell you anything about.
We had to kill our brother, I guess. I don't know. I
guess, yeah.
And then now we're just on the grind of the story. And I realized the other day after we played that the other thing we have to do is, one of the DLCs is more story, like it's another set of story missions.
Yeah, at some point
we got to do that. There's the quest thing that we have to do. You have to do 10 of those, but you have to do 10 of the yellow one. Like, I had to go and literally like make a list of stuff that we have to do in order to do it.
It's one of those types of games.
Yeah, it just becomes grindy shit for the end. But I mean, it's not difficult.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's
I like the game. It's still good. Like, I think you and I were talking about last time. Like, it doesn't have a PS5 Pro patch, right?
No. So I looked at because I was looking at the list of Pro patch games. It's actually not one of them. So.
But I thought about it and I thought, what would they? I don't even know what a Pro patch would do this game. It looks amazing. Great.
Well, it's nice to the same thing about like when you look at Astrobot. I don't think Astrobot has a Pro patch. When I looked at
what would it need it for?
What would it need it? That game runs at 4K 60.
Yeah, and it's perfect.
I don't. This couldn't make it look any better.
For being a launch PS5 title, still looks amazing.
That's what I said. I think if you look at this game from the lens of it's a launch game for a system, it's a very good launch title.
But for launch, I will say for a launch title, it didn't really have a lot of content. There's not much in it, unless you want to do the grindy shit like we're doing. And one of the terrible things we have to do is like open 200 light chests and special area. The game gets really bullshit about its grindy stuff, but
it does.
Now with the plan, we should be able to finish that in a couple more sessions.
Until we get to the tower.
The tower is the worst part, because it's through the hard tower, not the regular tower.
Yeah. Hey. But that wraps up what I've been playing. So we'll kick to you.
So obviously the main thing I did was I put a lot more time into Indiana Jones.
You haven't finished it yet, right?
No, even that being the game I predominantly play for multiple hours a session, like I'm still like I'm close. I'm close, but I'm not done. Okay. There is so much shit to do in this game. I almost think part of me at some points thinks like it's a little too much. But then I realized that that's kind of what an Indiana Jones the game to be. I kind of want to have to explore and figure shit out and do, like I'm in the Asia area now.
Okay.
To give you, I won't without giving like spoilers or anything too much because I just don't want to tell anybody yet. But
I don't want to spoil it because it hasn't released on PlayStation yet. I think a lot of people will play it there.
You'll know what I mean. But I've beaten the other two survival horror parts of this game, where this game takes a weird turn 2 times.
It does.
It almost becomes like a Silent Hill game at one point, and then it becomes like a Resident Evil game at one point.
Yeah.
But they're both interesting. Like it's, I remember doing the Silent Hill part because I found that place by accident, way early. Yeah. And like you wake up and I'm just like, what is happening? Because it almost seems like it's the beginning of the game again.
Yeah,
and then you walk out the door and you're like, oh, this is not what's going on at all. And it's a cool thing though, because they make a lot of references to like Raiders, and even Temple of Doom gets referenced a couple times.
Yeah,
because technically that's before this too.
It's a prequel. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Like we talked about it last time a lot, but like the amount of detail that they went into in this game for just crafting like a world that feels like it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
This is up there with one of the best movies of Indiana Jones they've done. Just in terms of like the content and the way it feels.
Like I said, if you really want to look at it at that lens, it fits right in with the original trilogy, I think.
Easily. It's better than Temple of Doom in terms of like how I feel like the story and everything. Like it's hard to beat Raiders or Crusade for me, but it's such a phenomenal game. And now I'm just going around doing like ultra cleanup. And the only thing I'll say about the game, and it's not, I don't think it's done on purpose, and it's just more so it wants you to explore more. In order to buy all of the books and buy all the other stuff, you need a lot of money. And if you don't know where to like find extra money, because you need extra money, like stuff that's not obvious, to buy all the little like pamphlets and stuff. So now it's like I have to waste more time actually going back and looking for money so that I can buy the map, so that I can find the notes.
There is one part of the game, and you're probably have you done all the stuff where you driving the boat?
I'm in the boat right now. You're
in the boat right now.
I did
There's
the
part where you have to buy
part.
the rebreather thing, and that's pretty expensive.
Right,
but they give you a quest to do specifically to get that. You get a little bit more.
But that's not even. Yeah, but that's not even enough money to buy all the books and stuff.
No, and that's the thing. Like they
I
give
still
you
have to get significantly more money to buy the rest of the stuff.
It's kind of
it's not obvious enough.
Yeah.
Because like while there are like the big chests where there's money in, there's also like the little lock boxes you have to look for, and you have to get a weapon and break them open. Yeah. And all that stuff. So I feel like they could have solved this problem by letting me continue to box people maybe for less money.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah. And at first, man, when I found that first boxing thing, I was like, man, this is going to suck doing all levels of this.
No, because
you just get all the books. Once you have all the books, you just beat the shit out of people.
Yeah.
And if you can counter, all you have to do is just counter punch, and it's easy. But
gotcha.
That's a huge tip for you, Matt, if you haven't done them yet. Learn to counter, and then you'll be fine.
All right.
But yeah, man, I'm very close to the end. Like I probably have, I would guess like 2 more main missions left because I've done all the side stuff. I was gonna say, like
once you finish the boat area, you're pretty much.
I think the next thing is for me to talk to the guy. And then
once you finish that area, they kind of you go to what I would call is the final area of the game, and it's much like those other because the game runs in the same pattern. Where it's like hub area, linear,
the boat in the mountains, right?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a very linear area at the end.
That's fine. I like how the game breaks it up like that because just going around collecting can be tasking because the map in the game is terrible. Like, I'll just be honest. Like, it's good for like general idea, but since so many levels, especially like the Vatican, is so vertical, it does not help because it's just like, all right, I'm above it, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
or how to get back there. And like,
there's a complaint for the second one.
There's a relic in Asia where it tells you like you have to go find these 3 keys back in these other levels, and the Vatican key is like all the way down at the bottom into a place you've never been before, through a thing under this over. It's like, oh my god, man!
So it's in a way where like there's no way that you
could not have gotten to it before
just by accident.
You literally could not have gotten to it before. I don't think you maybe.
Okay,
but it involves the rebreather, so I don't know if you have enough time to get to
you
where
would be able to. Yeah,
you might be able. You might have enough time, but I don't know. But it's not a place you would ever think to look. It's kind of weird. The only reason I could even find it is because it does that thing where it's like it puts a little yellow star in the world, so you kind of like work your way in. But
there's a good boss battle for you coming up that really fits in with Indy's character too.
No, I did that.
You did the boss battle?
I would consider that to be the Resident Evil part.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay.
You know what I mean.
I know what you're talking about.
You're throwing things?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's where the game takes a little bit of an extra level where it's like...
It does.
Just enough supernatural, but it's not great. Even though we've already done something...
It's not breaking it.
Well, we've already done something that does break it in terms of supernatural
a little bit,
stuff. But not any more than I would consider that Raiders did.
Well, like I said, so the area that you're in now is the area where I had my one and only glitch in the game, other than the AI partner with you. And that was where, like I said, I walked into this thing and just fell through the map. But because of what's just gone on in the game, I wasn't sure because I kind of sat there for a minute. I'm like, all right, is this that thing doing something? No, this.
I did have a friend who finished it, and he finished the game with 2 unobtainable collectibles.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the game does have it has weird graphical glitches sometimes. It has, but he got locked out because he didn't turn something in soon enough. So now he can't turn it in.
Okay.
So it's like stuck. Mine also says I still need a book to buy from the medicine people,
even though you have it.
But I have all the books.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping that fixes itself, but I don't know. I did have a weird graphical glitch where when I traveled back to Egypt, the camera got stuck inside his head in the back. So you could see the back of his eyes and the back of his mouth and the back of his nose. And it wouldn't go away, so I had to leave the area and come back. Because one thing I don't like about the other thing I'll say I don't like about the game, and that's kind of it. The fast travel system blows. Like, I need to be able to fast travel to one of these things from any point on the map where I am.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to go to one of them to go to another one. Because, like, when you're in the Vatican and you're all the way down in that tunnel thing, all the way at the bottom just to get one thing, you got to get your ass all the way back out. It's like, I just traveled me out. And, like, the game is smart enough to remember where I was when you travel back to those areas. Like, if you go to Egypt to Vatican or whatever, it puts you exactly where you were. No, man, you should put me back at, like, the load-in point for the level.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little broken, something that could be patched and fixed, hell, by the time the PS5 version comes out. But great game. I'll probably have it finished in the next couple of days.
I would assume.
Because I can't stop playing it.
You're pretty close to the end.
I can't stop playing it now, and then when it comes out for PS5, I'll actually buy a copy, and then I'll play it again.
No, yeah, you should.
Played more Borderlands 3. I finally reached a point in that game where I'm further than I've ever been, and hey, it still sucks. Like, I don't like the game's not good.
It's just prepare for 4.
I am I mean, that's why we're playing it now, is because we have to prepare for 4, even though 4 looks like shit too. But I am very lucky in this iteration of Borderlands 3 where I'm only like level 20. I have found a gun pretty early on, which is incredible. So even though that gun's low level, it's a assault rifle that shoots fast, that lights people on fire, that causes them to explode when they die.
Awesome.
I'll take it.
That works.
I'm putting everything into this gun and make sure that this gun works, because I don't want to have to leave this gun behind, even though at some point I'm going to have to. There's that game. The writing's still bad. I can't even tell what's happening anymore. We met Reese from Tales from the Borderlands.
I just found it hard to tune it out. Like most games, we could just skip cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Can you skip cutscenes in that game? I don't think you can you?
I don't know. I'm not the host.
Because it's just, the story is just so bad.
It's just, I don't know. I don't pay attention. But then the other big thing I did, and this is going to open up some more opportunities for me lately, is I learned of, we may have talked about it on this podcast before. I mean, you and I have certainly talked about this game a lot.
Oh, a lot.
Marvel Heroes. Yeah, Marvel Heroes is like one of my favorite Diablo clones that was ever made.
All time.
Fantastic game. It's fun. It's Marvel. It died a death so that Avengers could live. Great.
That's the only reason they killed the game.
That's a big reason why. That company was going down the tubes too. But
Because remember, it was like,
so PlayStation
how long was it
months.
out? Yeah, it wasn't even a full year that it was out on the consoles, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, we're killing this.
Well, it became we have to kill it by Thanksgiving, and there was like 2 months left. I was like, shit, I'm gonna rush for the platinum, and then it became like 2 weeks later, like we're killing it now. I was like, fuck, dude, I didn't have enough time, and that was even with them like unlocking everybody and everything. There just wasn't enough time for me to finish it.
No, it wasn't possible.
Because you had to prestige like 5 times, I think, with one character.
You do a lot.
I got like 3 or 4 done, but I did not get that. But anyway, so Marvel Heroes, I learned that it's back. If you own a copy of it for Steam, there is a way where somebody created, you can launch your own private server for it, which just loads the game. And it fucking works. Like, it's crazy. They like I read through some of the old patches, and they've slowly been adding more content with like each update.
Yeah, sure.
It's the game.
That's awesome.
Now to do it, the Steam version, the Mac version on the Steam does not work for it. So I had to finally installed Boot Camp on this machine. That took a couple hours because it just does. But now that I have Windows on this machine, I've opened up I can play Steam games from 5 years ago pretty easy. And I'm TCG
like I told you,
should work just fine. Supermarket should work just fine.
You should be able to play that.
Yeah. I have a pretty powerful version of an iMac from 4 years ago. So it should be fine with almost anything of that nature. But
of that type.
But the Marvel Heroes thing, the more interesting part of it is you can join other people's servers too. The game's just back.
It's cool.
I played it for like 3 hours the other day, and you have all the characters, and you can just fuck around.
That's pretty cool.
My son played it. I was teaching him keyboard and mouse controls. He was having a blast.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it had controller support on them.
It does. It does.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to find my original 360 wired controller and use that.
Yeah.
Because those were like the bomb.
I don't know back in the day. I was gonna say I don't know if you had a wireless adapter if that would work through a Mac.
I don't know. I mean, I could definitely get a PS5 controller to sync to this thing, but
you could, yeah.
If I can find my wired 360 controller, I think that's what the controller it was made to work with. Remember, because that was like the PC controller back when that existed.
It was.
Man, I cannot believe it's back. It's so good.
It's pretty crazy.
And it's awesome. I'm gonna look into. They've got a Discord and like servers that people run, and because the whole point of the game was like you were just running around seeing everybody else beating the shit out. The only thing I think they said isn't working is instance. So like that game has instance dungeons, kind of like Diablo and stuff does.
Yeah,
but those are not working for multiplayer, which is
that kind of makes sense.
Whatever.
Considering.
Yeah, I don't care. But the rest of the game works. I was running around beating guys up, doing the quest, doing the story.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I should look into it.
You should. And you know what the best part about it is? It's incredibly easy. Put a file in this folder, and then and then basically I click a thing on my desktop that says start server, and it runs. And then when you're done, you turn it off. That's it.
There you go.
Super easy. Yeah. But that's it for the main stuff.
It's up to you, Matt.
Well, I am proud to say that I have started 2025 off with a bang, and I have completed campaign-wise 3 games because I'm not like y'all. I ain't perfecting anything. I ain't going through everything, y'all. I don't got that. My brain can't comprehend it. But I went and I finished Astrobot.
I still need to.
It is really a good game. Like, it's just a lot of fun. Now it's going back through and getting the guys I missed in like certain spots. I also then went back and played Sifu because I saw that I bought the PS4, PS5, like the Ultimate Edition when it dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went ahead and just downloaded that for the PS5, and so I finished playing through that. That game is. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a pain in the ass. I guess that's the best way of putting it, because like the system behind it is pretty cool as far as like when you die, you age up in your progression.
Yeah.
So you become stronger, but your health declines rapidly, like much more rapidly.
Okay.
And it sucks because like you have to find like the good middle to where you're strong enough to take out everybody and like healthy enough to handle hits and whatnot. So it still sucks though, because it's all about like countering everybody and everything you do. So like, if you can't hit the counter properly, they just like go in on you and you're essentially just dead at that point in time.
Well, they're just beating up an old man at that point.
Yeah, they're just beating up a 60-year-old dude like he's nothing. But it's a pretty good. It's a pretty good game. I'm glad I got through with it. So now I can delete it and try something else, because I think the goal for this year is to going to try and complete as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, that's
whenever I can. Then I saw that Dynasty Warriors Origins had a demo on Steam.
Yeah,
I haven't played a Dynasty Warriors game in a long time, because, not to sound mean, they're all the same.
Hey,
I will 100% agree with you.
And I'm not mad at it, because
no,
it's found something that's worked for it, and it's just going to continue doing it. By all means, like, keep doing it. It's a fun game, but
yeah, like I think the last one I played was probably 7 or whatever it was on the 360.
The last one for me was at Warriors All Stars, which is like a ripoff.
Yeah, that's like and then I did play all those, and I wish they would do another one for modern systems, but the Gundam ones.
Oh, okay.
And then there's also like there was the Dragon Quest one too, right?
The Dragon Quest Heroes.
That was a pretty.
Those were okay.
That was a pretty good game.
Yeah, those were okay.
So,
yeah, but I mean, it really is. It's a good game. It was like nothing really like amazing about it.
Yeah,
but it was still fun. It's always fun when you get like, what is it, by the end of the campaign that you're on, or the match or the round you're playing, when you have like 800 kills and you're just one person. So I mean, it makes you feel good in small ways. But yeah, I'm trying to focus on things, and I'm trying to get through things. I think the big thing I really want to jump into right now is was it Ni no Kuni for the
first one or second one?
The first one.
Okay.
I bought both the second and the first one and the second one on PS4. I like some ridiculous price. I think they were like $4 or $5 when I found them.
They've done really low pricing on those digitally, and then even physically. Like at some point, I got the collector's edition of the second one really cheap.
Oh,
physically?
Did you?
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't mind
like
getting
maybe
them
$15, something like that. So
yeah,
I've never opened. I haven't played the second one. I have played the first one. So, and I like the first one.
So I started playing the first one. I haven't gotten very far. I'm maybe like 10 minutes into it. So like I haven't really touched anything. Yeah. And like I did also, because for some reason I bought the second one before I bought the first one.
Okay.
Because I think the second one was like $6-7 for the complete edition digitally. And so I went ahead and bought that. And I started playing through maybe like 20-25 minutes of it. And I was like, okay, well, this is pretty interesting. And then I stopped playing it.
Okay.
But then I ended up seeing that the first one dropped on sale, so I went ahead and bought that now too. But I think that's what I'm going to try and do. I think I'm going to get through the first one.
Okay.
And depending on how that goes, maybe I'll jump right into the second one. Who knows? Maybe I won't. But yeah, I'm going to try and get a hold of that. And aside playing like Pikmin 3 and 4 with my son whenever he makes me play matches and stuff like that, that's really all I've been doing.
I say there's also I never played the Switch one, but I played the Wii U Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I never played I should get the Switch one. I never played that one. That's one of the few like Switch games I never purchased.
I think I do have that one. I don't think I ever opened it.
I think the last Dynasty Warriors game I played might have been like 4 or 5. Honestly, dude, like.
Man, I used to play them all. Like even like the weird offshoot ones. Like there's a weird GameCube one called Mystic Heroes.
I remember that.
That one's notable because I think it's 4 players.
Okay.
On one screen on a GameCube, which is a nightmare now, but at the time it was cool.
The other one I think of that's kind of similar, but it was towards that like PS2 launch era, was Kessen.
Yep.
Remember that game?
I have a couple.
I played it for whatever reason. I played a lot of that first Kessen game. It looked incredible.
I was very into like all of their games. Like the PS2 ones. I played Dynasty Tactics a lot.
Okay.
That game was really good. I want to say in my head I remember it just being like Fire Emblem now.
I think it's a kind of franchise or the kind of series where when you get into it, you can get really into it for a while until you have that realization that they're all kind of identical.
A little bit.
So
it's more about the universe, I think, because like I played, like I've talked about it before, I played all those romance games a lot.
Yeah,
and like those with friends were very heated, like because it was because you're managing like entire empires and stuff, and it's all on the same screen.
But I never. I've read like this new one, the Origins or whatever, is like the highest rated one, which is crazy.
Yeah, and you know what the thing is too? It's like I love Dynasty Warriors games, so I was like, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. And then all the ratings came out. I was like, shit, maybe I will. It's gone. It's like I haven't
been out to stores yet, so
I was at 2 GameStops and a Target and Walmart. Nobody just doesn't exist.
Interesting.
So I guess I'm hoping there'll be a restock. I guess, but these days you don't know.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. You never know if they're going to just do like one printing or whatever. So, I get the one other thing I guess I'll mention because I forgot about it till just now. But whenever I go on the PlayStation, like whenever we're playing whatever we're going to play, I always just dick around and look through the store while I'm waiting for you to join the party or whatever. And I found the other day we were going through this ludicrous like couple different games, and there was a pack, so I ended up buying the pack for like $6, I think, but all games with anime ladies. So like there's one that is like a match game, there's one that's like a puzzle match game, match 3. I think 2 of them are visual novels.
At least one of them is, yeah.
And then my favorite one is the gun one, where it's like bikini gun something. It has like, so that one is the one I played the most. I played a little bit of the match 3 one. It's fine. It's a match 3 game. I have not tried the visual novels or any of those. Honestly, I mean, they were part of the pack. I don't know if I'll ever touch those. I'll have to look and see, like, can I skip through this and get like an easy like platinum or something? Maybe I'll do it. But the gun one, the bikini one, which is the only one that is technically a PS5 game. The other ones are PS4 games.
Oh, interesting.
So it runs a little bit better. It is the most like stock ass game you can think of in terms of like, you can tell the music is just ripped from like some generic like copyright free music that just is played on a loop. It's like the most generic music. Like I swear there are a couple tracks in the music loop that I have heard on like episodes of Chopped.
Oh, guaranteed.
Like
Chopped,
like guaranteed.
Complete sidebar. Chopped is one of the most probably like notorious things I've ever heard about using like that kind of music.
They use the era that we're on Chopped right now, because we're in like 2015-ish. There have been a couple times where they have played music from the menu of Saints Row 3.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And when I hear it, I'm just like, oh shit, it's Saints Row 10.
I remember that too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like they probably are tracks that I've heard before on Chopped or something, but that game is very bad, but not at the same time. Like it seems like it's a wave-based game, so like you literally run around as an anime lady in a bikini with a gun. You can upgrade the gun to like different guns, and then they have like a slow wave of enemies that come at you that are all like, I guess, sea creatures and crustaceans and stuff like that. So it is a very cheap, nonsensical, like you probably have to put a little bit of time in it when I was looking at the trophies, but like I just had to know. It's one of those things where like I was sitting there like, I just have to know, because there's like, when it comes to the PlayStation Store, it is Wild West. There's no rules.
Yeah,
this the most garbage ass stuff.
The Switch, I mean, the Switch gives it a run for its money, but the PlayStation Store is a shit show.
It is insane. Like I feel like Steam is curated better than
well, maybe
than this. But yeah, I don't recommend any of them. So I
will say too, I didn't play it, but I did buy the Indiana Jones for PS5 as well.
You're talking about the Staff Kings? Yeah, it has a platinum. So.
$6, sure.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So, but no, that wraps up stuff that we've been playing. We can kick off the news. We can kick off the news with one of the biggest stories, which is we finally now have actually officially confirmed
it's real.
The Nintendo Switch 2, which is
everything it was supposed to be.
It was everything that we saw leaked. Unfortunately. They haven't, and here's the thing. So, in the typical Nintendo fashion, they just dropped a trailer random Thursday morning, like here it is. That we don't know very much else
It's
about.
Not even
it.
a trailer. It's just like here's a CG video we threw together.
It's not like the bros hanging out having a fucking rooftop party.
Exactly.
It's literally like just here's what the system looks like. Here's 9 seconds of the next Mario Kart.
This seems like the thing where they would show it to like internal people. Of
exactly.
like a sizzle reel of
it was
Switch
a very
things.
But it was a very Nintendo ass move in my opinion. Just here it is, random Thursday in January. Here's this fucking thing you guys won't shut up about. And they've now officially confirmed the next Direct, which is April 2nd, will be when they're going to fully talk about the Switch.
Which is probably, to be fair, which is probably when it was always planned for. And they didn't want to do this, but they had to do it. And they're real pissed off about having to do it.
I feel like they probably, because it seems weird that it's a 3-month gap between here's the announcement, here's when we're going to actually talk about it. I feel like they probably weren't going to show this Switch 2 trailer until February.
This is that accessory place
fucked up. And we just need to put this out.
We're just going to say, fine, here it is. It's called the Switch 2. Be quiet.
Yeah, like it looked exactly as I expected thanks to those leaks. So there wasn't anything. I think the only thing that was confirmed we didn't know about is it has an extra USB-C port.
Right.
So there's one on the top now. But we saw it unfortunately from the leaks, but like I like how the Joy-Cons are now, where it looks like they're kind of magnetized.
Yeah, those are much better. I mean,
the rail system was bad.
Yeah, well, the rail system was terrible. It broke day one for most people. Or God forbid you put those things on upside down. We're fucked.
Yeah.
But so here, let's just get into the opinion part of it then. Like, is this enough for a Switch 2?
So they have come out and confirmed like this is their next generation hardware. It's not. So I will say like now, because they have come out and confirmed that, my feelings of it being just like a 3DS XL, like new 3DS XL, no, it is the next generation system. I don't have a problem with them calling it a Switch 2 because they might as well go with what's been successful.
True. Right? You probably don't want to, even though I think it's kind of lame because they've never used that naming convention before.
Super Switch.
Yeah, they've never used 2 before. Like they've never done that.
Yeah.
Even the Wii U.
Even if they wanted to keep it called Switch 2 in Japan or something, I don't care. But like here, we should have called it the Super Switch.
Yeah, something. But
that would have been pretty cool.
But okay, fine. It is what it is. You probably don't want to
Switch
lose the
Infinity,
Switch name.
Something.
Yeah, there you go. Switch 1.
There you go.
Because it's the one Switch you'll ever need.
There you go. Or no, they put the 1 in front of it, so it's one Switch. There you go.
But I don't know, like the fact that they at least they said it plays almost every Switch game except for the weird shit, which you assume.
Yeah, it's not going to play Labo or Ring Fit, the
stuff
controller.
that needed certain controller. The controller's can be used as a mouse now, I guess.
It seems like it, yeah.
Maybe there's some interesting things that can be done with that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, part of me is like, okay, yeah, great, because you're gonna see all of these games that could have never launched on a Switch come to Switch 2. But is it enough? Because it's still. I don't think games like Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to be on it now. I don't think that should matter. Like, none of that should matter because it's still going to be behind what a PS5 can do and a PS5 Pro can do.
I was going to say, I think they said it was equivalent to the power of a PS4 Pro.
Right. Which is fine when you consider it's a handheld, but that still means it's a generation behind something else.
Well, for me, like, my thing is, like, I never, and I think you're in the same boat too, but like, I never bought an OLED Switch. I never upgraded. Like, I've had the same Switch since day one. I've never had to. Like, yeah, I broke one of those rails, but everybody has at this point as a launch system. But I never was compelled to even buy the OLED. Like, maybe if I would have known at the time the OLED came out, like, hey, it's still going to be several more years,
right? I
might have, but also like I play the system a little bit handheld, but I mostly have it docked, so that part of it doesn't matter to me as much. I'm more interested in it, and the bigger tell for me when we get to the Direct is, okay, will this system benefit the games that I already have by updating them at all?
Right? Is it going
to play the games better, or is it just play them? Yeah, that'll be the bigger selling point for me. because I've kind of, like I said, I've held off on playing a lot of games because I'm just like, I'm waiting for the Switch too, and I really thought it came sooner than it has. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure COVID had a hand in delaying this thing too, because I feel like it probably should have been out like 2 years ago.
That's what it feels like, but it also feels like if they had done that, maybe it wouldn't be as powerful as it is.
True.
And then it's just a PS4, and it's like, well,
yeah. Obviously, now that we've seen it, we know that the physical system is larger, the dock is larger, so like you're gonna need a new dock. It's not gonna You're not gonna be able to use your original Joy-Cons or dock. We know all that information at least now. Where do you think it comes in price?
Nintendo's always been the one that hasn't used new tech as an excuse to raise prices. Like inflation, it does that for them, but $350.
So I'll tell you what. I'll give you two prices. I will tell you what I'm guessing, what I think it should be, and then what I think it might be. Not to get political, but if we get into tariff territory, by the time this comes out. So realistically, I think it comes in at $400, which would make sense, and also give them an opportunity. I think, should they drop the price of the other stuff on the market, like they're not going to pull the Switch Lite and the regular Switch off the market anytime.
They'll keep selling those.
They should price drop those, but they never have.
Right.
So you could put this thing out at $400 and keep those at the other prices, and
I don't think you can. I think a better move is to drop the prices. I think
$350 would be awesome, but I feel like realistically they probably hit $4. But if we get into tariff territory,
but I'll tell you right now, it doesn't.
I think it's $5.
No, that's not movable.
It's higher than
it's not movable at $5.
You don't think even? Yeah,
I don't even. I don't care about tariffs and shit. Like, there's no way.
You don't.
No
think
one's spending $500. Okay. All right, let me put it this way: it will sell out regardless because people are lunatics.
It will. It will.
But I cannot foresee a world where that system, even if it does upscale your Switch stuff, is anywhere worth $500 on day of release. Because as of right now, it looks like Mario Kart 9, I get 8.5, 9, whatever the fuck it is a launch window title based on the one screenshot they let be in that little presentation.
The one rumor that I read as far as price is that there'll be two versions at launch. There will be a 350 model, like you're talking about, and then a bundle with Mario Kart for $4.
They don't even have to bundle that though. Like, there's no.
They don't either.
Why bundle it?
Well, I mean, we always agreed back when the Switch came out that 1-2 Switch should have been bundled with.
Well, that's because that's shovelware.
That was a tech demo game,
right? That's shovelware. But Mario Kart 9 is not shovelware. Mario Kart 9.
No, and my argument is like, yeah, sure, I can see them doing a bundle, but they don't have to.
Mario Kart 9 could be $80.
Exactly. It wouldn't matter.
They confirmed that like the chips are the same form factor and everything.
Yes,
but they're not like identical chips. Did they say that? They couldn't be.
I don't think they have, but at the same time, I would figure out at this point.
Most of it's gonna be downloads.
Probably figured out. I was gonna say I would figure they probably thought of a way to make the chip size bigger, because otherwise at this point, like the way how big games are, a lot of this stuff's just gonna be download anyways.
Right.
How many of those have they put out though?
There's plenty of Switch titles where it's a box of a code. There's plenty of those.
Yeah.
But 500, man, that's too much.
Oh, I agree. I think that's too much. I think it roughly hits in between the 350 and the 400 range. I'm still going 4.
I think it'd be 350.
I don't want it. I would love it to be 350.
I think 350 is what they're aiming for, and if those tariffs do come into play, I think 400 is what they would jump to.
Okay.
I think history tells you that they want it to be 3, but that's why I could see them doing 350.
Well, isn't the Switch OLED model like 350 or 330 or something weird like that?
It?
It's a little bit more than a regular Switch.
I don't even know what the cost of Switches are anymore, man.
I don't ever to be fair.
The Switch OLED right now is $349.
Okay. So
well, then this one has to be at least $350 minimum, and then they got to drop those $50.
Yeah.
No, and like I said, my thing is like my buy-in is like it can't. I don't think it can be more than 400. So over 400, I think you got to be showing me some real cool shit.
Well, because like, I think the number I saw going around is like they're going to make 20 million of these things, or have 20 million by the end of the year.
By the end of the year,
doesn't matter. Those are all sold already. Doesn't matter. Like, you could price this thing whatever you want, and it's sold out day one. Pre-orders are going to be impossible. People are going to be complaining.
There.
Like, this thing's going to be, the first one was too, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be fucking terrible. You're going to be refreshing your browser 9 times while scalpers buy them and sell them for $1,200 on eBay within an hour. Like, it's just, the whole thing's going to be a nightmare. But I just, like, 500 is way too much. 400, you could get away with it, but it still feels like too much for me.
Yeah.
I think that direct, I feel like that direct will probably be when you find out what the price is, what the date is for the release of the system.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably find out what the launch titles are. I would assume
pre-orders will go live that day or at like 3 or something.
Or at least that way. I don't know, because if you think about like when they did the PlayStation and Xbox stuff, I think they gave like a 2-week window.
Yeah, they did.
So maybe they'll be nice to do that, but it is Nintendo.
They don't care. They're all sold.
They don't care. Yeah, I don't know, but it's just it's good that at least the some things out there. Like, we don't have to keep talking about
pretending.
What do you think they're going to show? Yeah, or now pretending. So, but yeah, now it's literally just to wait until April to see what else they will show. I was wrong too.
I thought for sure they'd try to get away with selling you Mario Kart 8 one more time, but
it is wild to me. I'm not upset. I'm more than happy to have a
That's
new
a
Mario
fantastic
Kart.
Launch title.
It is a fantastic launch title. I just really hope in the launch window there's another new 3D Mario.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, if Mario Kart 9 is the launch, I think Mario Maker 3 is a bigger banger for a launch window title.
Okay.
Just because of what they could do with that.
Well, and like it's like we said earlier too, like, you can't launch this thing with just Metroid Prime 4.
No, God, no.
So launching it with that and a Mario Kart game,
you could do both. You could do those two together for sure.
And that seems like that's.
And then you could do here's the other thing. Let's say that it doesn't update your Switch games, doesn't make them play better. Maybe that doesn't do it on purpose, because then they could re-release Switch 2 versions of stuff.
And that's where I'm put down. That would be the bummer.
That's
for
the
me,
ultimate like, go fuck yourself moment kind
of
a thing.
If they come down and they're like, well, you guys want a better version of Tears of the Kingdom, here it is for $70.
$70 again. Switch 2. Yeah.
Now it's 4K when it's docked. I don't know. So we'll have to see. It's going to be a long.
I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll do that, but
I don't think so either.
There's a world where they do.
I think there's a world where you will get some games that are re-released as Switch 2 titles, but it'll be because they've added more content.
Well, and there's also that for holiday sales when it's like, well, Timmy wants a Switch 2. Why don't they have a Switch 2? Why don't they have a Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild? Am I buying the wrong copy if I buy the Switch version? So they can increase sales by re-releasing it in Switch 2 cases or something, for sure, and making the price $70. Like, there's a Nintendo does that shit all the time. They did it for Switch 1 games. They re-released like Zelda and Odyssey at one point with like a booklet in the box. Remember those? Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. We'll see. Like I said, we got a 2.5 month. The other thing that will be fun now is now we'll start to get announcements of other games, because third parties now it's open season.
They can say it. They've all been saying it. Like,
this is coming to Switch.
Coming to Switch 2.
I told you I didn't put it in the news, but some stuff leaked the other day for hey, a Starfield Complete Edition has been rated for Switch 2. Yeah. And then there was trying to remember the other one too, but it was something where it's it really seems like those games are coming to everything.
Well, and the thing is I think you can feel confident now that if it was a game that was only on one system and now it seems like it's going to be on Switch 2, it just means it's on everything.
It's on everything.
Yeah.
And that makes the most sense. So, the other probably biggest and most recent news we have is we had the Xbox Developer Direct for I guess we'll say for the spring. I mean, their pattern now is they have this Developer Direct in the beginning of the year, and then they have their E3 show or E3 time show. So, but this turned out to be very strong. They had. So we already knew that the titles they're going to show is Doom. They're going to show South Midnight. They're going to show Clair Obscura. The fourth title, which I kind of guessed ahead of time.
I never would have guessed that.
You never would have guessed it?
No.
Okay. I kind of was like, well, they have a history with this developer.
They do, but so, I never would have guessed it is what it was.
But the surprise for me wasn't what it was who they've teamed up with to make it. So the surprise game is Ninja Gaiden 4. Which is cool.
Crazy.
It's a franchise that's been on ice for a decade or so. But the surprise for me was that it is co-developed with Team Ninja and Platinum Games.
That's great.
Mhm.
Specifically, I looked into it earlier today. It's specifically the team that worked on Metal Gear Revengeance.
Yeah, which is an action sword game.
The team that you want.
Cut this thing into a million pieces.
Makes me more interested in the game because I've played. I don't think I ever played Ninja Gaiden 3, but I played 1 and 2. Like I like them, but I've always liked Platinum action games more. So this makes me more excited for, and if you, I don't know if you watched the trailer for it, but they're introducing like a new ninja.
Yeah, I watched the whole directing.
Hayabusa's there as well. So it looks cool.
And they said, and they gave a little wink. There's like, maybe there's other people too.
Yeah,
so
right.
That means Ayana's coming back. Probably Rachel.
It is for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the Team Ninja logo and I thought maybe it's time. Maybe we're doing DOA.
I knew it wasn't. I didn't.
But I knew it wasn't.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't. Like, we're not.
Maybe
if this game sells.
Buy this game and we'll get DOA 7.
Maybe.
There you go. That's what I want the guy to say. Buy this if you want DOA 7. And then they did a shadow drop of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black Edition, cool. Which is out on Game Pass now. I think you can buy it digitally on the PlayStation.
You can, and
then there's a physical version
PS5
only for PS5. Yeah,
fucked up.
But they remade the game in Unreal 5. Yeah, that's my understanding. So that looks pretty cool.
It looks amazing.
At some point, I'll look at it on Game Pass.
Those are the original.
I played a lot of the second one. I think
1 and 2 are like the original. Like, you think Demon Souls and Dark Souls shit is hard? those are the original. Like,
that first game is very hard.
He's a piece of shit at some point.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, so that was the surprise, and it was funny because they led with that. Like usually they'll wait and be like, okay, here's our last.
Well, because last time the secret was Visions of Mana, and it was like, okay. It's a cool thing for you to show, but it wasn't the first thing they did.
I think also at this time they knew that they had strength in having Doom there, and so that's why they.
Well, I also think that they knew that this was a banger surprise.
It's a banger surprise to open,
right.
And then they knew they had the strength of Doom. So, like I said, they showed South of Midnight. I will try it. I think it looks like a very interesting game. The only thing that doesn't sell me on that game that I have an issue with is because they use a lot of stop motion.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I have that problem of like, I know that it's not the game engine is broken, but it gives my eyes like a weird, it's weird.
Yeah.
So
all right, and I watched that whole part of it, and I'll just be honest, like I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, I don't think that game's gonna make it. I just have a feeling like I don't feel like that game's gonna do it, man.
I will say this. I think if that game was not going to be on Game Pass, I don't think it would have a chance at all.
Doomed.
Like,
I don't think at least some people will play it, but like just the way they were talking about it and like the Deep South and we're basing these creatures on legends, and she's got sewing tools. You have to unwrap. I'm like, it feels like too much for something that's new.
A little bit, yeah.
Like what they have going for them is they made 2 other games that were interesting, at least. So this one can have that interesting factor, but
and they've been working on this for a while.
Yeah, I worry that this is the kind of game where
it's going to get lost in the shuffle.
It's going to get lost, but it's too big for what it should be. Yeah, there's 4 different things, and you've got to unlock all these powers. It's like there's so many games out there like this, like not like exactly like this, but like the feeling of this game where progress through this area and do this thing and unlock these abilities. Like I'm telling, as someone who's played a lot of Forspoken and still hasn't finished it,
it's giving you those Forspoken vibes.
And I'm not getting the vibes from the story. I'm getting it from gameplay and leveling up and the idea of we're going to these 4 different areas. Oh, gee, I have to do that in that game. And you unlock these abilities. Oh, gee, I have to do that in this game. And it's just there's a feeling of that.
Yeah.
And, Forspoken's bad for a multitude of other reasons that I don't predict this game will be bad for. But
I hope this game's a little more polished than that.
And this game actually seems complete.
Because they showed that. They showed Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which still continues to look like a really, really cool RPG.
I love the idea of the story.
The story idea is really cool. That's what drew me into it.
Yeah.
So that game continues to look cool. As we mentioned before, like, even though it's going to be on Game Pass, it is a $50 physical game, which is kind of crazy. Because it looks like I mean, I could be wrong, but it looks like it will be a fairly lengthy RPG.
It does. I normally don't really give a shit about these like developer directs. Like, we're walking around our little villa.
I don't care.
And watch me look up to the camera, and I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff. But it was interesting to hear about, like, this guy was like, I decided I was going to make a game, and then I got this far, and I called my buddy. My buddy's like, I can help you do that. And then this guy's like, I got this other friend. So it was kind of cool to see that. And I'm like, these people are like, oh yeah, like he called me up, and like, you know, there's like 12 of them hanging out in this house in France just making this game. It's like, that's pretty cool.
And then they ended with what I would argue is the strongest game here, which is Doom Dark Ages. And that was the one that I was interested in seeing all the talk and everything about what they've done here. The thing that's most refreshing to me about Doom Dark Ages is the one thing I didn't like about Eternal is Doom 2016 had a really good combat loop to it. They tried to add too much stuff in Eternal, and they tried to give that game a verticality that doesn't work for Doom. So there would be times, and the best way I can describe it is like, imagine playing Sonic the Hedgehog when you're running really fast and then it gets knocked by something, and you kind of, you know, then you have to walk normally. That's how Doom Eternal would feel at times, like if you get knocked out of something because of the verticality. So the first thing that they kind of address right away in that direct is like, hey, this game is grounded. We're not doing any of that verticality stuff. You are meant to stand and fight, which is really cool. Obviously they showed off all the new weapons. There's 3 different melee weapons you have at all times in this game, which is absurd. They have completely rehauled the glory kill thing. So now instead of being positioned on like a specific part of the like demon's body or whatever, it just can happen wherever, which is pretty cool. And I think that a lot of that had to do with the technology they were using at the time, just didn't have that. The game looks massive. There are like huge maps that you can actually explore this time. And you've seen a little bit of that in the trailers and stuff, but the big news here is it's out May 15th. And I feel like after everything that I saw at that thing yesterday, it's ready for May 15th. I'd be shocked if it got delayed.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
It seems like they're just cleaning it up. They also, for this one, they completely cut multiplayer to just focus on the single player, which I think is the smart move, because they did a multiplayer mode in the 2016 that I actually really liked. And then 2020, they tried to do this weird hybrid thing that just didn't work. So I think the smart move here is to just make it a single player experience. The other big news coming out of the direct is that all of these games obviously are going to be on Game Pass, but they're all Play Anywhere games.
Yeah.
They were very big to mention that up front, which is cool. So, because Doom is a game I will totally play on PC. So that's just where those games have always felt right to me. So, but Doom looks awesome. We got a write in, which I'm going to read real quick about the direct here. So let's see here. Byron from Starkville, Mississippi. Hi guys, given all the recent negativity surrounding the Xbox brand, what did you think about the developer direct? I think the show felt like a big hit. A new Ninja Gaiden, South of Midnight, Clair Obscure, and Doom the Dark Ages all hitting within the next few months. Really feel like they got a good grip on things. With this outline now, do you think it's possibly they might be pulling things around in 2025, or is it more of a too little too late situation? I don't think it's going to pull things around in terms of like, hey, people are going to go out and buy Xbox systems now or anything like that. But I do think that if all 3 of these games hit and they're all good, and we get Fable at the end of the year, we get this Ninja Gaiden and something else, I think it could be a sign of, hey, this is one of the best years they've had. And
I don't think it's too little too late, because I don't think we're in too late territory yet. But so Indiana Jones came out. Very good. Excellent first step. You've got these first step. 3 of these next 4 games are coming out in the next 4 months. 2 of these have to, you know, and even if South of Midnight like does not do well, as long as it is a critical success, I'm talking like 8s and above, then I consider it a hit. If all 3 of those games hit, we're doing something that we haven't done in years, which is
for Xbox, right?
Release games, and B,
Yeah.
they're good. And these are games that are not called Forza, Gears of War, and Halo, right? Like the three that we have, and not Flight Simulator and the other one-off things they own, but live in a different world.
Exactly. This
needs to be. I don't want to say start because I think Indiana Jones and that last developer direct were kind of the start of it. This needs to be the continuation of what we're doing with these directs, where we're focusing on. We have these 4 games. We're heavily involved with these 4 games. These 4 games are on us. If they continue to do this and hit on these, then there is a way forward. And
I think that was the smart move here. Again, was here we're going to focus on these games that are out in the next couple months,
right?
And you can get away with having one of those announcements being the surprise. Hey, it's fall.
Sure. If it's a complete, if I've never heard of it before, it's allowed to come out in a year. We'll say because who knows when that comes out.
And it's very possible that game could slip. It does seem like that game's further along, though.
It does for sure. I mean, from what they showed, it looks like they have a shitload of it done. But these other 4 come out and so this is how these directs should be. The last direct was good, but it wasn't great because it was Indiana Jones took a year. Avowed, still not out. Visions of Mana showing that we have a relationship with Square again. Nice. And what was the other game? Was it South of Midnight again?
No, it wasn't a game that they repeated. So it might have been, now that I think about it, wasn't it that weird strategy game that came out on Game Pass? I can't think of the name of it, but it was like not a Civilization.
No, wasn't it Pentiment?
No, Pentiment's been a while.
That was the one before
Pentiment's been like 2 years, yeah. I want to say it's that weird Civilization type game, but it wasn't one that was like a big hit.
Oh, right. Yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
Whereas last one, Avowed was the last one because remember that was.
I think we talked about that strat game looked cool, but it probably wouldn't do anything.
No, and I think it got reviewed well, but again.
So that's an example of how this direct thing doesn't help you.
Yeah.
This one I think does. And going forward, this should be the plan. They should do this exact same thing again in E3 time. They should do 2 of these a year. Say every 6 months. Here's stuff with that has as of right now has release dates within the next 4 months. That's what they need to focus on because they have to get shit.
Well, and
out.
especially last E3, they did the whole we're gonna blow the door open and show things in the future, which they did obviously, and I think that was fine for them. But I think this year we need to focus on what's coming out at the end of this year, and then maybe show one thing that's in the future.
Sure. But
maybe this is now, I would say my argument now would be this would be the time where at this E3, their one thing in the future is, here's the first look at the remake of Halo Combat Evolved.
Sure.
We pretty much know they're making.
Right.
So at this point,
or if they have something concrete in the Fallout world or something but Fallout is hot because of the show.
It is.
76 is a game now. There's room for them to be like the Fallout 4 remaster or 3 remaster, like we talk about all the time. So that's the one thing you can do, but they have to release games, dude. The fact that we're still is Avowed coming out? Like we joked about earlier, it's is it? It probably is, maybe. I don't know.
I feel like it probably hits its February date because it just seems like we're now at the point. We're literally past we're at 3 weeks. So I would assume at this point that game either has gone gold or is about to because it would be wild.
Can that game even afford to be delayed again? The
only reason I would delay it is, because like I said, inevitably they will patch that game to run at 60.
Of course.
It just, I don't. It seems wild.
It can't be Redfall again. Yeah. Man, it just can't.
Well, I was even going to say Redfall. I was going to go with Starfield.
Oh, well, yeah.
Remember, Starfield launched at 30 on the consoles, and then 8 months later, we did it. So, and I feel like Avowed, they'll do the same thing. So, I'm just going to play Avowed on PC, but it's wild to me. That is the only reason why I would see that game being delayed again, is if it's all right, guys, we're delaying it to let's say June, but we're putting that in. But I really don't think so. I think it's done. I think they're ready to launch it. The only thing that would make me skeptical is that it just seems for a game they were pushing and pushing and pushing for a long time until it got this delay. We're 3 weeks away from it. I feel like there's no buzz.
There's no marketing.
No one's talking about it.
We had a direct about it a year ago.
There's like no one is speaking about it.
Right.
It's really weird.
Those aren't good signs.
It's not a good sign.
But
so
to go back to this direct specifically, like this made me feel good about them.
yeah, no, this made me feel like, okay, some of these teams are actually like getting shit done and ready to put out.
And it's
so
4 interesting games.
Yeah. Everything like even South of Midnight, like I said, like it's not typically something I would really care about, but it's something I'll check out.
Right.
Because it's
I like
Game
the
Pass.
art style of it, like for real.
I think the art style
really...
of it's cool. Like I said, it's I have to get over the stop motion part of it.
The puppety type shit.
Yeah, it's really jarring.
It's a little weird.
And I'll skip it ahead here, but I'll throw it in because it'll make sense. You know, it's weird to me. We keep talking about like, yeah, they should. You know, at the very least, we should put out a remake or a remaster of Fallout 3 because of how successful the show has been. But then all we hear about is this fucking Oblivion remake, which, like, I'm all for it.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. I will clear every fucking game off of my schedule to play an Oblivion remake. But I feel like it's the wrong game to be remaking at this time. And you should be working on a Fallout 3 remake instead.
Right, especially because, like, the path forward for Elder Scrolls is to just make 6, which God knows when. But
I don't think it's generation. I think it's another 2 E3 times before we see anything. But I mean, the rumor now is that it's being completely remade top bottom by Virtuos, which is kind of random. But again, like it just I'm not unopposed. Like I'm all for an Oblivion remake, some of my favorite games of all time. But it's just weird. It's a weird choice at this time.
It'll sell like crazy. It doesn't matter.
It will. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like as long as, and I would assume by remaking it, it'll be on everything.
It should be.
And again,
Switch
there's never been a good version of Oblivion on PlayStation. So
no,
because that version of the game's terrible. So it would be nice to have a good version over on PlayStation. So
and put it on, and you put that on Switch too, man. That sells a ton.
It'd be awesome. I would buy it on Switch too, just to have it be on the Nintendo system. Unfortunately, as we're playing this game right now, the team behind Godfall is no more. Has been disbanded. I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I didn't think we'd be getting a Godfall 2. To be fair.
Oh no,
I really didn't.
Did it say that they're like disbanded? Or are they just getting absorbed into make Borderlands 4 content?
The way I read disbanded is they're getting absorbed into other teams at Gearbox. So I would assume
Borderlands 4 content.
Borderlands, yeah.
Unless Brothers,
that would be my
is Brothers in Arms coming back?
I'd be
Hell's
into it.
Highway 2.
Okay. Hell's Highway 2. There you go. The next one, I'm going to read the email we got first about this. I'm sure you've seen a little bit of this rumor going around. I will get into the email first here, though. But Nick from Cleveland, Ohio. Hi, guys. Have you seen the article leaking the fact that the Xbox was almost ready to throw in the towel in 2021? It seems crazy at the time they were thinking about possibly bowing out of the console industry, considering at the time the Xbox Series X and S would have only been on the market for a year. I'm not sure if I buy that part of the rumor. However, the part that is more concrete and scary at the same time is that Microsoft wants 100 million Game Pass subscribers by 2030 to consider it a success. Considering it's 2025 and we are just over 30 million, according to the recently stitched together numbers, combined with the confirmation that Game Pass only moved the needle by 5% subscriber growth with the addition of Call of Duty, I just can't see them hitting that number by 2030. Really puts things in perspective and makes it seem like this last console they put out may be the final one for them. What do you all think? So yeah, there's been this article going around that the head CEO, not Phil Spencer, but Satya Nadella, was ready to pull the towel in 2021 and basically gave the option of either shutting it down or more acquisitions, which obviously they went on to acquire Bethesda and then the ABK deal, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The best way to put that. It went on way too long. Like that's what ruined that one. So, but that part of the rumor, I don't know if I believe that part of it because it just seems weird.
I believe that there were discussions held about like you can't tell, like obviously they had to talk about this. Like, look, we've been struggling. We're clearly third place at that. Even at that point, we're clearly third place. And what does this mean going forward? I don't know if there's a world you pull the plug on it a year into the console release. That's happened before. I mean, the Dreamcast was fucking died
2 years, year and a half.
Sega was also in trouble. This is Microsoft, dude. Like,
they're not in trouble.
No, they're not in trouble. Maybe the gaming division is, but not enough to pull it a year. Now, the thing is they do have a backup because they have PC gaming. Like, so even if the Xbox goes away, it still exists.
Yeah.
And they're still going to make these games. They're still going to release them on PC. But I will tell you the least believable part about like this article, this thing going around, 100 million. There's no one in that fucking company who thinks they're going to get from 30 to 100 million in
by
5 years. There's no way.
Not possible.
I think that, but you have to remember that number was being thrown out in 2021, which would have been 9 years before 2030.
Even still, that's such a large
You think that's too hard number at that point?
Of Game Pass subscribers? You barely sell consoles. Who the fuck is subscribing to Game Pass? Maybe that's a realistic number if they make this handheld thing we've been talking about and hearing about for years.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then it becomes, it's in my pocket and it's a Game Pass. Not in my pocket because it would have to be a fucking Steam Deck. But it would, but then it can go with me everywhere and everything is an Xbox.
Yeah.
Then yes, then I'm buying that and I'm buying the subscription to Game Pass because I'm not buying games for that.
Well, and that's realistically what that's why you're seeing the push now,
right?
From hey, play this on this console or PC to hey, this device can be used
right.
as an Xbox.
Because the thing is we're talking about. I mean, it's evident when you look at this direct thing they just had with like Ninja Gaiden. That's not PS5. Like all this stuff, fuck it. We're putting it on everything. We're putting it on Switch.
Yeah,
they're becoming a software company, kind of like Sega did. But they're still going to have their own thing you can play it on if you want to use our thing. But otherwise, you can use other things. But I think a Microsoft branded Steam Deck type thing is the smartest way to do it.
I do. And I really think that when we get to, I still stick with the 2026, timeline of the next console, but I think it's next console and handheld equivalent.
Yes.
And I think I would even I would maybe even throw out there that maybe E3 this year you see a little bit of what that handheld.
Well, because there's always the two SKUs, right? So
there
SKU 1 is your home box. SKU 2 is your portable box.
Yeah.
They're both digital only. They both have upgradable storage space. And one is for your TV and one is for you to take with you. I don't think it would be a dockable thing. I don't think they're going to waste their time.
I don't think they're going to waste their time with that either because they would want you. They want you to buy the box.
When you could just buy the box and the box would just stream everything. There's no reason to do that way. The Switch is a different item. It does its own thing.
Yeah.
But is it a bad thing that Microsoft is pivoting more towards software? I don't think so. I think that's where we are now.
I think that's where it is now. And I think they realize, especially like I said, if the needle only moved for Game Pass 5% by adding Call of Duty, which I didn't put in the news here, but that was once again the number one selling game of 2024. So sure. They reclaimed the crown after that 1 year knockout by Harry Potter. Yeah.
Until Harry Potter 2 comes out.
But it's crazy. It only moved it that slightly, and that's the biggest game of the year.
It's the biggest game that's ever going to make a move. Mm-hmm. It's the one game that's even going to make.
And the argument I'd make too is like, okay, should they maybe have waited to put that on Game Pass because you're doing that in the middle of the console generation. Like nobody at this point that already has a PS5 is going to look at that and go, okay, well, I can buy Call of Duty again this year like I normally do, or I can go out and get this Xbox and then get Game Pass and then pay nothing for it. Like,
but that's
not going to happen.
That's why I think the game wanting a higher Game Pass number is silly because then we're ignoring how many copies we sold on the most popular system.
Yeah.
We're still selling that game for $70 on the system that has the most versions of it out there.
And that's why that moving into publishing makes sense.
And when the Switch 2 comes out and we can make a version of that game for this too,
then we're
going to sell even more copies of it. So I don't think the number they look at can just strictly be 30 million, 35 million Game Pass subscribers, because that's not the point anymore.
It's not.
We're putting Starfield on the fucking Switch because, well, you know why?
Well,
to try to sell more copies.
The other game that was rated for Switch 2 is the Master Chief Collection.
Right, exactly. And we're putting that on other things. Why? To sell more copies.
Gives me hope that the dream is alive for that.
I think it is. And if that thing comes out on PS5, it's going to sell a ton.
It'll be the number one digital sold game for probably 2 months.
You're telling me they're going to put that on a system that has, how many, like 5 times the install base that we have, and then we're going to put it on the hot new Nintendo handheld? Yeah, I think we're going to sell a few copies of Halo.
But even at the same time, like, also think about, there's nothing really like Halo. There's not really a Halo equivalent on PlayStation.
Not anymore, because Killzone's dead.
Yeah,
Resistance is dead.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing like that on PlayStation 4.
Call of Duty's a different game. Yeah.
And even Grand Theft Auto 5 for the Nintendo Switch 2?
There you go.
They should. I think they easily could put GTA 5 on it.
I think they can. I think they will.
I think that'd be dope.
I just the Halo, it will dominate whenever it comes out.
Well,
it's going to dominate.
Like the Switch 2, the amount of stuff they could put on Switch 2 to just generate revenue is going to be crazy.
Oh yeah,
Fallout 4,
yeah.
Switch 2, like that Oblivion thing, that'll be on Switch 2.
I want to say I saw something about Fallout 4 on Switch 2 as well.
Easily do it.
Stuff.
And it's just more revenue. Like, that's why I think the Game Pass argument is dumb. Unless the true move, the big move, and I've talked about it before.
Oh,
we go talk to Nintendo. We say, look, what if we put Game Pass on Nintendo?
I was to say, do you think they ever try to open the door to have that conversation again?
I don't know. I don't think they do, because I think they're too protective of Game Pass and they wanted Game Pass on our system. I don't think they do for
the reason that, why do that when you can just sell a copy of the game?
Well, there's that. But what then it comes down to, is it Game Pass numbers we care about, or is it sales?
But I think now it's sales of content.
Right.
Is what I think it's pivoted to now.
But I also think it's also, if we're going to do our own handheld, we would never ever put Game Pass on the Switch.
No, I don't think
so. We're not going to do that, then we should.
Yeah.
And then the caveat would just be, it's stream only.
I can see
no
that.
Downloads.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Because then that goes with your anything's an Xbox. Your fucking Switch 2's an Xbox.
You think about it, like, some of the infrastructure is already there. Like, when you play Minecraft on a Switch, you have to log into your Xbox account.
Yeah.
So
they've always had a decent relationship, because they know that they're not in on each other's stuff.
No, not at all.
And if Nintendo's going to let them put, because remember, Nintendo has to say, yes, you can put Master Chief Collection on our console.
Yeah.
And Game Pass isn't that much of a leap if Nintendo gets a cut. That's the only thing that would be.
Yeah.
Every Game Pass sign up, you get X percentage. And Nintendo would just be like, so we get free money? Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Especially if it's just streaming through an app. It's free money. But
it's a wild article. It'll be interesting. It's gonna be a very interesting year to see what happens, like where things land, especially as we still inch closer to like GTA 6 and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. This came out this week too as well. At this point, I feel like Sony's just completely dumping the live service initiative they had after Concord, because now they've dumped some more games, including one that was centered around God of War, a live service game. Which, like, what would that have been?
I can't imagine what that would be.
I have no idea.
The one I will say I'm a little disappointed in is the Horizon MMO thing is dead.
That seemed like the one that at least made a little sense.
It makes sense, because like you could just be your own person in that world,
which would be fun.
But
they're all in on making a movie out of that now, so
that's fine.
Yeah.
Horizon is good. Horizon is good content. But
no, that's fine.
But yeah, so I was a little bummed by that one. But God of War live service, what is that?
No,
you all create your own boy, right? You're all the boy.
There you go.
And then there's one Kratos, and you all have to do missions for Kratos.
This has been floating around. I think you and we've talked about it a little bit in the last 2 weeks. It's been floating around as we keep bringing it, because like Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be the topic of the year as the year continues on. But there has been the price controversy because there's been a lot of talk of, well, maybe GTA 6 is a game where they move the price up. And by that, I mean, this game is used to move games from being $70 up to $80, or like some outlets have been pushing this $100 thing. It's not going to happen. That's too far, too fast.
Yeah,
it's too fast. I can see a world in which GTA comes out and, hey man, it's $80
easily,
and that is what it is. It's not going to pivot people from buying it. That's the thing. Like, much like when Tears of the Kingdom came out and they were like, hey, it's 70. Sorry. Didn't pivot anybody from buying that game at launch. Yeah. And they know they can get away with it. Whereas I think if they were like, hey, it's $100, there would be people that big.
I think you think that. And I told you the move is it's $100. Take it or leave it. Yeah. And most people take it. And then the people that don't take it, they wait 6 months for it to go on sale to 80.
Yeah.
And then they take it.
80. Ooh.
Yeah, you know, like, I don't think it's going to happen, but if there is one game that could do it, get away with it,
Grand Theft Auto.
It's Grand Theft Auto 6. That game sells 100 million copies in, what, 2 years?
Easily.
Is there a Switch 2 version of it? Then double it. But, like...
knowing that we know that it's as powerful as a PS4 Pro, there's no way.
No, there's no way. Could they? Well, yeah, but that didn't stop them on the Switch from putting shit on there. It shouldn't be on there.
It didn't.
I think 80. As much as I don't like it, I think it's reasonable, and I think it's
I think it's realistic.
This is the most. This is by far the most expensive game ever made. Yeah, by probably double the last Call of Duty game. Right? It's got to be double what that costs.
It's probably triple.
Yeah, maybe.
We're talking
$1 billion probably.
Let's realistically say 2015 is when they started working on this game. Because remember, while GTA 5 came out in 2013, they immediately went from releasing that to, hey, let's work on the next gen version.
Right.
Which came out a year later.
Yeah, they were ready for that.
So let's say 2015. That's still 10 years they've been working on this game. So, and who knows how many. I mean, I would love at some point. It'd be awesome if somebody made a documentary, because I'd love to see the long road of what this game was initially to what it became, because it's going to be very interesting.
Well, the other crazy part is like, we don't even know what it is yet.
Not really. We've seen what,
a 90 seconds
trailer of it? Yeah.
Which looks incredible.
90 seconds of it was incredible, and really seemed like they're pushing in on like the game having its own like social media aspect to it, which
feels like
how does that fucking work?
I don't know, but it feels like it's gonna be a big part of it.
It does, and it's just cool. Like, if they have made social media systems that work inside that game,
can you imagine if there's a social media system within that game where it's like AI generated from like NPCs using social media, and you could like follow NPCs and they're making updates, and that's how you find out about like missions and stuff. Like, the possibilities for like AI within a GTA game are mind blowing.
So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but again, we're talking like the amount of money that it took to make this game that they're going to spend on, even though they don't have to spend $1 on it, but the amount of money they're going to spend on marketing for this game is going to be crazy, and it's going to be the highest selling game
of all time.
At some point for a long time. What is it now? Is 5 the number one right now?
If it's not
Minecraft, Tetris.
If it's not Minecraft, it's GTA 5.
I feel like it's always like
Matt's gonna look it up.
Yeah, I know. Matt loves to research.
I
always feel like it goes between like, well, Minecraft and like remember Sims was up there for a long time.
It seems like at any point Minecraft might take it over for a little bit because a new version of Minecraft comes out.
Right.
Minecraft right now I think is number one from what I see, and Grand Theft Auto 5 is number 2.
Okay. It just feels like it's going to be between, but like 6.
Those two.
Does it have a number for 5?
Like how many copies?
Sales wise, Minecraft is at 300 million.
That makes sense. That makes sense because it's on fucking everything.
It is on everything.
And Grand Theft Auto 5 is at 205 million.
Okay. That makes sense.
It makes sense though, because Minecraft's also a cheaper game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can get GTA for $20, but
now,
but like 6 is going to eclipse it. Like, it's not even going to be. It's going to take a while, but it'll get there.
It'll get there.
But so that's why I really feel like that game could easily start at $80. I think people would go, man, I can't believe this $80.
Even if they do some bullshit thing with like it comes with a starter shark card.
Yeah, exactly. But there's that's how you do the hook, and that's how you explain it. Because then you get them hooked on shark money. That's the real key. Yeah. Because remember, it doesn't matter how many copies of this game they sell. We sold $100 shark cards daily. Little kids. Little Timmy would come in. Daddy would give him his $20. They come up
to buy that
shark card. Okay, cool, man. And then he'd come back to next week, and then that's the poison. And whatever the online version of this game is what the actual money is. That's why you might as well steal how many millions of copies you can sell at $80 out of the gate.
I think at this point, like, I mean, there was a while where we thought, like, oh, maybe they don't even do a story because they lean so into the online because that's what's going to keep the game going. But no, like, obviously we know they're doing a story, but this could be the last one.
But I also don't think it moves the market. This doesn't mean you can get away with it for everything else.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I could see that too.
You just can't.
No. But GTA is a game where you can't easily.
That's its own market.
It is. It'll be interesting. Like I said, my money's still on 2026. I don't think it's coming out this year. I've seen, like you said, I've seen nothing to prove to me that game is coming out this fall.
Right.
Other than, games journalists saying, well, I really want it to come out this fall. Cool.
There's a lot of that.
I want a lot of things too. Like,
real quick, while we're talking about this, I was looking at this thing, and right now, the oldest game on this list of best-selling video games is Duck Hunt.
When is that?
Really?
Yeah, but that doesn't count. That's a pack in you. I don't count pack. That's like Wii Sports was always on the top of that. Let's go fuck yourself.
Where is it on the list? What number?
So Duck Hunt is.
When is this list from?
It stays kind of modern.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, because like they say that. Yeah, this is one of them.
It's probably up to date.
Yeah, because right now it says the most recent updated one or the most recent game on this list is Hogwarts Legacy.
Okay. So it's up to date.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Duck Hunt looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, like 16. I think at 28 million copies. Like,
yeah, I mean it's a pack-in, so I get it.
It was a packing game now, but yeah. This is not shocking. You know this, but Sweet Baby is caught another failure. The reason I point out Sweet Baby in this one specifically is because this one was almost entirely developed by them.
This was their big thing.
That was just their big thing, which is Unknown Nine Awakenings, which I like. Even putting aside the Sweet Baby DEI stuff, this game had no marketing push whatsoever. Like nobody was talking about this game. Nobody how many trailers did you see for Unknown Nine? Like it's just. I feel like it was a game that had no marketing push. Nobody knew about it. If you probably walk into your average GameStop, they wouldn't know
what it is.
Maybe. So I'm not surprised. I think I joked with you earlier this week when it hits the right price, I will get you a copy to play.
I want to put it on the shelf.
Hey man, you got to finish Forspoken. Got to get that platinum.
I will do it.
And then
pace myself.
Unknown 9 time. But again, I'm not surprised. It just nobody was talking about the game. So, if people haven't figured this out yet, still Mass Effect, the next one is a long time away. You've seen obviously all the Dragon Age stuff has come out this week with how big of a failure that was for EA. The person that was behind that game has left that studio. There's talk. It's not substantiated yet, but there is talk that the BioWare Edmonton, I think it is going to close in February. So again, not the main BioWare office that would be working on Mass Effect, but considering how poor Dragon Age did, it's not surprising. But I also think it's the kind of thing where they really can't fuck up Mass Effect.
We've talked about it. They can't.
This is
the last chance they have.
And I think that's another reason why it's a long time away.
You're already encroaching on is BioWare as good as it was 10 years ago? And now it's going to become, what's the last good game they
15.
actually made?
Exactly. So,
and people like Dragon Age, and that's fine. I don't really care. And, it's not for me, but it didn't sell.
It did not sell what they needed it to. I think I think it came close to like half. So, but what their expectations were. So, this one was kind of crazy. I don't know if you saw this because I think we just had talked about, or somebody had mentioned the game Celeste like the last episode, but the developers behind Celeste have just canceled that game. The new one they're working on called Earthblade. This
is a weird one,
and it's all like an internal argument about the rights of this new game that caused it. But it's crazy to me that the argument blew up enough where they're just canceling the game, and it was pretty far along too. Because like we've seen, I think there's a trailer for the game. I mean, obviously we've seen footage of it, so it's crazy that it's just they're done. It's canceled. And I don't think it's a situation where somebody else is going to pick it up either, because this was a dev team of, I think, 3 people.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's just gone.
It's crazy. So I was really surprising when I read it, because it was one of those things where I was looking through the IGN app when I saw it. I was just kind of had to take a double take, like, huh? Like, why would that be canceled? I had to look into it. So, good news for you, Dan. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 story has been completed, which means we're still probably 4 or 5 years away from seeing the game. I liked in the article that they specifically mentioned, like, without like joking or anything, that it's a PS6 game.
Probably, yeah.
Or at least a PS6 era game.
Yep.
So, which I thought was funny, but like realistic. So
yeah, I'm not surprised. Like the jump from 1 to 2 was crazy and took a long time, and the 2 to 3 is going to be even crazier. So it's going to take even longer.
We talked about like what do they need to figure out for 3, which is a lot. So it's going to take a while to develop that now if they've figured it out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then that's a time when it finally comes out on Xbox on handheld, and you can stream it, and you finally get all 3 of them at once.
There you go.
Just release the whole thing. It's a 400-hour game.
Obviously, there's been in the last couple weeks, there's been a couple rounds of layoffs at Rocksteady. But now Warner Brothers Games boss David Haddad is leaving the company. And this comes in a year after the disastrous launch of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which I'll remind people is still on your list, Dan, to play at some point. It's probably later this year.
Yeah, I don't know what's after Borderlands 3 on that run.
I don't think you're ready for that.
Probably not that. That just seems like it's too much.
Gotham Knights.
You can do it.
Yeah, I'll probably take a break and find something else.
We got faith in you, man.
What was the last? So you did Dead Island. You did Dead
Island. Oh, that's right. Dying Light's probably next.
Dying Light. I said
we're doing those. We're doing those zombie things in chronological order.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Dying Light 2, man, is so good.
It's not chronological, dog.
No.
You're talking to a man who just played Riptide. That game sucks. So we'll do Dying Light, and then Dying Light 2, and then Dead Island 2.
Dead Island 2.
That other Ghost Recon game is on that list.
Oh,
I you know what, man? I can't remember which one we did.
It's not Wildlands because you played Wildlands.
Did I play Wildlands? So it's got to be Breakpoint.
Breakpoint's the one that has the Punisher in it. So
yeah, we did not do that one. Okay, so that's on the list. I heard
that they patched and made that game good. Yeah, so
that's on the. I liked Wildlands. It was fun. That's on the list. That Strange Brigade game is on the list.
I've played a little of that. That's a weird game.
There's something else that's on the list too, but yeah, Suicide Squad at some point.
The last news article I put in here, affiliated with games, but the guy that directed the movie Barbarian, and there's a movie he just directed that's coming out, I think, next weekend. Also kind of a horror adjacent movie, but apparently he has been tapped to do yet another reboot of Resident Evil on film. Which
it's okay. It's time to do that and start it over, be fresh.
My faith level is at 0.
Well,
so you didn't watch Welcome to Raccoon City, I don't think. And
no,
I don't. You should. One of the nights that you're just playing something, you should throw it on in the background, because there's still one scene in that movie that is one of the most preposterous things I've ever seen in a movie. And you need to see that one scene.
Okay,
it's worth it to watch for that. All I'll tell you is it involves Leon.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
Well, doesn't
It's
it all?
just one of the most fucked up things I've seen in a while.
Spoiler alert.
Terrible movie. I don't have much faith. I also wasn't the biggest fan of Barbarian, so everybody went nuts for that movie. I said it was okay. So
it was interesting.
It was
I would
interesting.
definitely say that. Yeah,
it was interesting, but I think once it got to where it was going, I was over it. So, but I also like Justin Long, as we've said before. So
fantastic.
I'll watch anything he's
so
in.
Good.
So yeah. But we don't really have any more GameStop dumbass movies of the week. We're still, as we get to emails, we'll talk about more closings
Yeah,
and
they're still in
stuff.
the process of those.
We can.
There's one GameStop dumbass movie of the week. There's one.
You do have a movie.
I have one.
Okay.
They put out some kind of ad on like Facebook and I imagine Instagram or whatever because the whole TikTok thing. They put a thing that's like, you have TikTok on your phone? GameStop will buy your phone. That was the ad. What the fuck are you talking about? And then they also used an old picture of your favorite GameStop personality, Captain Redbeard.
That guy's been
He's been gone for years.
Time.
Side note, and maybe GameStop people, this is a hot button issue on the GameStop people. Maybe some will agree with me, some won't. I met him. He's a dick. Like, that guy sucks.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
Because he thought he was like Mr. God's gift to GameStop or something.
Yeah.
He was an over-energetic dumbass who had a red beard.
Yeah.
I have a red beard as well.
We're going to get someone to write in about it.
Someone will. I want both sides. I want someone else who knew him is a dick, and somebody else who thinks he's the greatest guy ever. Please do.
There you go. Please write in about it.
Because I know he's a polarizing topic.
There you go.
There'll
be somebody like, I fucking hated that guy.
He was a dick. I met him at conference, and he was like, he had this like clique of people around him. It was like, imagine if you went to like a sporting event and you saw, I don't know, say LeBron because he wasn't LeBron, but like some mid-tier guy walking around who had like an entourage circling around him so you couldn't even get close to him because they all wanted to be close to the guy who was cool. And he's a GameStop manager, dude. Nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
There's 5,000 of us here. Jesus.
Not that big of a deal.
Not that big of a deal.
Now that you say it, I remember seeing the picture of the thing, but I didn't hover on it that long to notice it was him.
Yeah.
So.
I saw that one. Wait a minute,
something's wrong here. We can kick it over to movies and TV stuff. I haven't watched that much. I now have Nosferatu, so next time I'll be able to talk about Nosferatu. I also have Sonic 3, so I need to watch Sonic 2.
Is that on there yet? Can I watch that yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm watching
Sonic 3 is available now.
Excellent.
But I will get to Nosferatu, so I'll talk about that next week.
4K Amy Rose.
Well, it's on there.
Hell yeah.
So for me, I finished Coach and then looked at like, hey, there's like 3 shows that I probably should be watching. And then I just started my annual rewatch of Roseanne. So I've been watching a lot of Roseanne. And then I have started, I should be done with it, but my girlfriend watches it with me, and every night that I've wanted to watch more of it, she has wanted to go to bed. And that is Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. So I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but huge improvement over the first season. And I'd say 70% of that has to do with the fact that Alucard is here now. And that just brings the guy who voices that character, and that character just brings a next level to the show. And it does seem like they are pushing towards my hope, which is inevitably doing a telling of Symphony of the Night, because we're very much in Rondo of Blood territory with this story. So the animation is still excellent. Voice acting is still excellent. So, but I've only seen 2 there's 8. I've only seen 2 episodes of it. So it's literally been that. And then, like I said, I'm in the middle of season 4 of Roseanne. So I've watched a lot of Roseanne.
Damn, dude.
That's my background. Like, hey, either I need to do the exercise bike or I'm playing a game. I want to put something on. It's Roseanne. Yeah. So, and I want to get ready for these final 6 Connors episodes. So whenever that happens in the spring. So, but as far as movies goes, I've been waiting to watch Nosferatu. I'm literally going to watch it tomorrow, so I'll be able to talk about it next week. What about you, Dan? You got a trilogy.
I had never seen these before, and our buddy who's been watching all these movies, he brought it up, so I was like, oh fuck it, I'll just do it. So I finally watched Equalizer 1, 2, and 3. this is fucking great. Like they're just
series
good.
that I have been to the theater to see all
they're
three
nothing,
of them day
like,
one.
You know what's crazy too is like they're nothing like amazing or like super special.
No,
they're fun to watch. You root for him.
They're fun to watch. Denzel is literally playing Denzel, and that's
great.
fine.
Hanging
he's
out,
great.
reading his book, having a little tea. Like he's great.
The
plots are incredibly thin, but who cares? I don't care.
It's a weird series because like the first one is probably the most straightforward. Like it's just an action movie.
Obvious. Like
the second one is like this weird like the first hour of it is almost like a drama.
Yeah, it's literally like
was he an Uber driver for a while, and then by the end of it, they're fighting in that hurricane.
Well, because that was fucking wild.
Awesome.
So the second one is weird because it's like, it's a CIA case, and he's talking to his old handler, and then she gets murdered. And I'll tell you, the only thing I hated about that was the minute he didn't get off that elevator with her, and then she died. I was like, he did. He did. It's
gave it away.
Yeah, they telegraphed that one way too easily,
too fast.
Especially since it didn't make sense that he would do it, because the opening kill of that movie had nothing to do with him. But then they work that in. It's like, okay, fine. And then the third one is just, hey man, I'm hanging out in this Italian town. Don't fuck with me.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
awesome.
That's why I texted our friend. I was like, is he going to kill this entire country? Because it feels like he might. God,
he's a hard fucking man.
The kills in those movies are crazy. Like
they are.
That first one, he has a chance he could shoot that guy in the eye. Nah, man, he pushes the gun into his eye.
It's insane.
Crazy.
Insane.
Super fun to watch though. Like I love that. Like
awesome
they
movies.
gave me my I need to watch a Statham movie fix. Like that's what those are.
They're very much that.
Well, I wait for the new Statham movie. These are
get two more of them.
I know.
So excited.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I watched. But those were enough. Like those are just great movies. Fun.
But you, Matt?
So I went through Netflix this past week, and I was just kind of like hitting remind me on a bunch of things, and this movie called Back in Action came across.
That was like maybe last weekend. It was brand new.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz.
Oh,
is it not? Cameron Diaz's like first movie in a decade.
It is.
She was retired for a while, or semi-retired.
Yeah, which honestly, I didn't have a lot of expectations going into it, but I really feel like in this one, Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz work really well together. Like
they've worked together before.
Yeah. Well, and their on-screen chemistry, like it actually kind of fits each other. Like as you're like watching it, like in the very beginning they're doing their spy stuff, and then essentially what happens is they go like, I guess you could say KIA, killed in action, essentially for this one mission that they're working. So then they decide to just kind of go off the radar and start a family with each other and all that. But they work really well together. Like they felt like a believable couple. Like other spy movies that I've seen in recent times.
I think the last Cameron Diaz movie I remember is Bad Teacher, which I've seen like 10 times.
Oh, same here. Yeah,
it's a good one.
It's a fantastic one. Justin Timberlake's so bad in that movie. It's so funny. But yeah, overall, like it was a solid movie. Like I'm pretty sure, based off of the ending, they might be making a second one, and I'd be down to watch it. Like I think, all in all, so it's nothing spectacular. You kind of figure out who's the bad guy and what's happening. It's just a lot of fun though. Like the way they work off each other. The fight scenes are pretty good between Cameron Diaz with Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx. The kids that they have, they work really well in the movie too. Like all in all, it was a fun watch. Like I know, like I was looking at like IMDb and everybody else. They gave it like really shit reviews.
Yeah,
and shit
that movie got some really shit reviews. I saw that. So
it is like just one of those things that if you put on just to kind of go in just to enjoy something, it's pretty enjoyable. Honestly, like I was actually shocked at how much I enjoyed it after I got done watching it. And when it mentions or when it kind of proceeds that they're going to do a number 2, it's actually kind of like I'm down to watch it. Like it's pretty good. aside from that, I've been playing cleanup on stuff that I keep seeing shorts on from YouTube and like Facebook Reels and shit. Me and you talked about that.
We talked about
weird, dude.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, I started seeing shorts for the Connors.
Yeah.
The Bear. And that Dahmer Netflix series that's on.
Okay.
And I literally started watching all 3 of those shows in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we talked a little bit about your season 3 of the Connors?
Like mid-season 2 of the Connors.
Oh, mid-season 2. Okay.
No, actually, wait. I'm sorry. You're right. I am in season 3 of the Connors because they just it's like the whole COVID thing that they're going through right now.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of handling COVID. I still think the best sitcom of that era that handled COVID was Superstore. They handled it like so wonderfully,
so well.
Amazing.
I still watch that to this day.
They do a good job. They do a good job on the Connors though as well. And then you're watching The Bear. Where are you in The Bear?
I am in like season 2, episode 3 of The Bear.
I still keep telling like Dan, you need to watch The Bear.
I know.
It's a show that I know you would.
I know. It comes up on my Hulu all the time, and I'm always in there like watching other shit.
And it's short. You can get through it really fast. Like they're half-hour episodes. It's just it like if you. I will say like if there's ever a show that will explain to you what if you don't know or don't suffer from anxiety or have an idea of what anxiety is like, you will understand when you watch The Bear what it is like to have anxiety.
Well, lucky for me, I already know what it's like to have anxiety.
I know that, but I'm just saying like it's. And for like I tried to get my mom to watch it. She cannot watch it because it literally gave her anxiety watching. She's like, I can't do it.
It's really good. That like I was
actually intense.
For some reason though, I thought the episodes were longer. So when I started watching it, it was over really quick, and I was like,
it flies really fast.
What? Like that.
Each
really
season as it has aired, like I think we've gotten through it either within one night or within 2.
Yeah,
right? And part of it is just my hardness. Like I need to know.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's been a really good.
I love the show.
Season 1 was really good. Like I was kind of an up and down ride between the main character, but by the end of the season it just all kind of made sense. And then I actually just over the past 2 days too, I started watching The Punisher because I haven't watched that, the Disney series.
Yeah.
So I'm in
that was
episode
the Netflix, the one that was on Netflix.
Sorry, the Netflix series,
with John Bernthal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm in like episode 3 of that one, and that's really good too. So
really good show.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to finish. I'm gonna try to catch up and finish all of these in the next 2 weeks.
Did you ever watch Daredevil or no? Matt?
Yeah, okay. I did watch Daredevil.
And so you're getting ready for March 4th.
I got to. I had you get it so I could rewatch it.
Yeah. I was just talking to Kyle about that this week, and I was like, man, Daredevil looks like the new one coming out looks really good. Yeah. So I was kind of going to do the same thing too. I think after I'm done kind of mulling through all the series that I'm in the middle of right now, I think I'm going to rewatch Daredevil to kind of get hyped into seeing.
Yeah. Well, and we now have we've known for a while that the Punisher's in it, but obviously he was confirmed in that trailer that he's in it,
for sure. I mean, it looks really good.
I mean, Kyle looks super dark. I love Daredevil. Like
that show is incredible.
He's right behind Spider-Man for me. Like I always tell people, like he's like 1B. And like that show, as someone who loves Daredevil and like never really got
to play that character.
Yeah, well, as someone who loves the character and never really got like I bought the comics. Like those are that one run is one of my favorite runs ever.
Yeah,
and just never got good content from that. Like in any other media, that Netflix show is just like fucking perfect.
It's the kind of thing where it's like
really
I don't needed them to ever make it a movie because the show is so good.
I don't want it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it if they did it in the way that like I mean I know he showed up in that last Spider-Man movie, but like if the Spider-Man movies have always been like a weird like team up kind of a thing. I wouldn't mind it if the next one was like the two of them teaming up like that would be fantastic.
I think it's pretty much known now. Like he'll have a cameo in whatever this Avengers.
He's got to be in that, and it's probably
and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that stuff's fine.
Yeah,
and I would be okay with that. Like you said, I mean, they don't need to do a movie.
No, the show's so good.
Yeah, I think the way he's doing it is fantastic. I would like to see him on the big screen, like teaming up in some way, but it's the movie's not needed.
No, because like the shows can play out the him versus Kingpin thing so much better than a movie.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And I think the important thing to note with the Disney thing is, like, obviously the reason it took longer is because they were going to go a different direction. And then they had filmed 6 episodes of that show and they scrapped it all, brought in those original writers and brought back, like, because they were going to cut the guy that played Foggy. And
there was a lot of people, like Foggy and Karen.
And then they brought them back.
Yeah.
So, and it just looks like, obviously, I think, didn't we read it's going to be 5 years after the events of the last season? So
yeah, I think it'll
be a little bit
within
older,
like the timeline it fits.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks
like
great.
that is, cannot wait. So very excited.
I love that shot where he walks in. He's got all the different masks on the table. I'm like, oh fuck yeah,
awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed their conversation.
Yeah,
at the table.
Oh god, I could watch like 4 hours of that.
Just them talking.
Just them talking, like
sitting at the table,
knowing who the other person is, and just like they both know that they know, but they're in public, so they can't really. It's like that's the game they play.
No, it's very much playing off that scene from
I would
Heat.
Kill. Yes, so. I would kill for a Daredevil game. Like that would be.
It'd be cool.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I would like it would be like a Spider-Man game, to be fair, but like it would be cool because like you could set it like all at night and what they could do with like radar vision and stuff in the game.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of stuff they could do that would make it incredible.
But yeah, that's
we almost got that one. Remember?
Tremendous.
Remember the PS2 one?
Yeah, I remember that. That stuff leaked like a couple years ago. Yeah, that's cool.
And there's the Game Boy Advance one, which I do have.
But yeah, no, and then like I said, the Bear, because there's been 3 seasons, so
okay, yeah, I saw that.
They filmed season 3 and 4, I think, back to back. Because I will say the only disappointment of the new season is in the way that it ends, because it ends in a very much cliffhanger, like come on type of thing. Where I'm like, when it happened, I'm like, come on, I know I have to wait a year for this, so kind of a thing. But tremendous show. So
yeah,
can't say enough good things about that.
That's all I've been watching. Yeah.
So we can go ahead and kick off the last couple of emails we have here. Next one we have, I mean, obviously we've run through a couple of them, but first one we have here, Tom from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hi, dudes. I'm curious, with all the scuttle about Xbox seemingly ready to launch a new system in 2026, do you think that there's any chance that if they go in early, they can recapture the 360 era and get back to being on top, at least on top in North America? And if they do truly go early, do you think it pushes whatever Sony's plans for a PS6 are forward? All info right now points towards a 2028 release for next gen, so it seemed pretty crazy for Microsoft to launch a next generation 2 years early. However, it does seem like it does really feel like they want to get this generation behind them so they continue to expand this is an Xbox marketing campaign. I mean, I don't think they're ever going to recapture that.
There's zero chance in hell that they're ever anything other than
possible
third place.
now because of how well Nintendo is also doing now.
They're so far behind. It would take a miracle. There was room in the 360 era because it did go first.
Yes.
And the PS3 sucked when it came out. Like, this is as someone who sold these systems as a job for the entire lifespan of these consoles. Like, the PS3 was so far. And the thing was, the PS3 was so far behind for so long that only by the very end of that generation did it get close. But then Xbox completely fucked it up.
Yeah.
The
PS3 for me really didn't kick off until that first redesign.
The first Slim. Yeah.
Where that was like, okay, this seems like a good, and by that point, like Metal Gear Solid 4 had come out. I think we had the first Uncharted.
They had started to fix some of the problems.
They started to have some stuff where I'm like, all right, there's some games here to play. And the system doesn't seem like this janky.
Well, they fucked themselves because it's cell processors, and it'll run nuclear satellites if you hook 4,000 of them to get. Like, nobody cares, man. Does it play video games? No, it doesn't. Not well. Okay, then nobody cares.
Yeah. Is in 2025, are there a lot of those early models that played all the generations that still are working okay?
You mean the original 60 gigs?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's what I would wonder.
I don't know. It'd be difficult because the problem with PS3s was everybody loves to laugh at the Xbox Red Ring, but PS3s had just as worse problems. They had yellow light, yeah. And the problem with yellow lights was, for the most part, that meant they were fucked beyond repair.
Yeah.
Red rings, at least, like you could clean the board and maybe get it to work again, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those are left because those were the only ones that had true hardware in it, and that's why they could play that stuff properly. Then you got the emulator 80 gigs later, which, is essentially what you have today with like the PS5 version, the stuff you download. But Microsoft's just so far behind. There's no possible way.
They're so far behind. I just don't think it.
But they could.
I still subscribe to the 2026 thing. It really seems like it. And again, a lot of that I also point towards it. Like they're not doing a pro system.
Well, there's that. But the thing is I don't think launching early in this case helps them at all.
I don't think so either. I think if anything, I think launching 2 years early, if PlayStation truly does wait till 2028, I think just confuses people more.
Well, and also it gives Sony 2 years to make sure that their console is better than whatever the Xbox is.
And that's the thing,
that's the danger.
A year gap is one thing. 2 years is a pretty large gap.
Yeah, a year gap, you're pretty locked in at what it is.
Yeah, 2 years is a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still subscribe. I also personally don't think it's 2028 for PlayStation. I think it's 2027.
Maybe.
So
I could see
I think they're closer than you think.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But there's no way. I don't think you're ever going to see Microsoft be on top again. I think that was as we get further and further away from it, it just really feels like a perfect fluke.
But I think you could get them to have a very strong handheld console.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And they could become one of the biggest publishers. I mean, they already are. But as long as they're putting out games you want to play. And then that's what's going to keep them around.
For sure. Next email we have to us comes from Casey from Redacted.
Oh, we love it.
I-572 crew, longtime listener, first time writing in. Well, for me, it's happened. As of January 25th, my GameStop is no more. I've been with the company for 12 years, with the last 8 being a store leader. I've seen the rise and fall of the COVID era and the aftermath of it, as well as the meme stock bullshit and the rise of Lord Chewy. That's what we refer to him at my store, at least. I thought that was funny.
That's who he is.
I'm not surprised. So I was not surprised that on New Year's Day, my district leader visited our store to hand us our walking papers. I took severance. I don't want to move to another store in this failing company at this time. I just wanted to write in and let you guys know it's great that there's a podcast out there where you guys are not only still talking about GameStop, but you are former employees and know your shit. It's refreshing. Well, I don't think GameStop is going to be around much longer, and I'm sure your podcast will long outlive the GameStop brand. Thanks again for what you guys do. So I thought that was a nice
What do you think happens to the GameStop brand? So
I told you.
Well, let's roll back a little bit here.
It becomes a website.
Okay, I think that could be it, where it's a website run by someone else, and they just keep the name. Kind of like remember Overstock?
Yeah,
I was gonna say it becomes more of a, and this will make you chuckle, but I think it becomes a little bit more competent DK Oldies. Is what I think.
I don't think.
Not at the level of like DK Oldies is only specifically like retro stuff, and they do obviously a terrible job with it. GameStop, we know, like you can get good stuff from Web and Store. It's not all bad.
Right.
We've had our good experiences.
You and I have both
it.
Had very positive experiences from that.
And I think that could continue. Then that's why I say like a DK Oldies
type.
But
my argument is expanded. Like in your scenario though, that like GameStop is still running it. My thought would be, and I think Matt knows, because like the Overstock thing, somebody buys the name and runs their own company using that name. Because who bought Overstock? Exactly. I forget who it was. It wasn't Amazon, was it? Somebody bought Overstock.
I don't.
And they kept the name, and like Bed Bath & Beyond, they did that with that too. And that's Chewy, so he has experience doing that.
Wow.
I don't know.
I think it's kept as a website though, and
yeah,
I think
I could see that. I mean,
because even look at how DK, like if you're gonna sell stuff, the way, as far as I know, the way DK Oldies is, you take pictures and send in like send them like what you want to sell them, and they kind of grade it between that and give you an offer. And I could see GameStop doing something on a larger scale like that.
Maybe.
It says
I'm not
that
saying that that's going to
Overstock
last
was
forever.
bought by Bed Bath & Beyond.
Oh, so it's a fucking Russian nesting doll of stuff. Okay. Maybe that's why I thought of that right after it. But the thing about that is, obviously, like, newer games are becoming less and less. Like, Microsoft doesn't make physical copies of stuff basically anymore. You saw Sony's ending Blu-ray production on a lot of stuff. Like, so they're even getting out of, like,
Japan. Yeah,
physical media
big.
there is dying. So it would only be like gaming accessories and stuff that already exists. Is there even any money in that? We go back, we worked there 10 years ago, and we would always make jokes like, I don't know if GameStop's going to make it 3 years, 2 years. People would always say that. I was like, it's going to be closed in 2 years. It's like, no, it's not.
I'm surprised that in 2025 we're still here.
We're still kicking, man. And the thing is like,
at the rate that it is,
right? And it would be one thing if they had made that move to collectibles and they had made that move to trading cards and they were killing it in that space, but they're not even killing it in that space.
No,
they don't even have stock of this new Pokemon card set that everybody's going fucking ballistic.
Yeah, I've
they
seen
don't have
so
they
many
don't
videos
have
and shit
versions
on
of
that.
it because I don't think they're willing to invest in actual products. It's more about what makes the company worth more money so that eventually he can bail. Closing stores makes the company worth more money. I think it's just you're going to keep seeing rounds of closure, and eventually be that kind of thing where at some point there's 400
big
of
lots
them,
situation,
400 of them still kicking, and then one day the shoe is pulled. It'll be weird when it's gone, but it's going to have to go at some point, right?
At some point, yeah. I don't know if you saw it. I compared to Big Lots, but I don't know if you saw the Big Lots thing that happened at the end of the year last year, where somebody stepped in and bought enough of Big Lots that they're keeping like 200 stores open or something like that.
Then what is even the point of that?
No, I know. That's
what's
what I'm
crazy
saying. Like, even still, I don't think somebody would do that for GameStop. So
in that aspect, as far as someone buying out Big Lots, like we have like 3 or 4 in my area right now.
Okay.
And out of those 3, 2 were going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that was in the town I used to live in is no longer there.
Okay.
And the one that's on the south side of the town I live in now was going out of business, but the people who bought it, I guess that one is staying open. However, it's weird because then there's one that's like 10 minutes from me that wasn't going out of business that is now going out of business. It's a weird fucking thing.
What a crazy, like how can you imagine being someone that works at that job, being told like, hey, this place is going to close down in a month, working up to like, let's say 2 weeks till it's going to close, and then out of nowhere somebody coming and be like, no, actually we're not closing anymore, you can keep your job.
It's weird, dude.
Wild.
You know what's even weirder is like, so I get it and it makes sense when you think about the long, but I was in the Big Lots that did end up closing, looking at stuff, and the cashier lady that was checking me out told me she had just got hired that week, that the store was going into closing because they just needed more people. Yeah. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, but I put in my application for them like 6 months ago. And they called me and they were just like, hey, you still interested? And she was like, yeah, sure. And they were like, well, we're closing, but you can work up until this day. And like, we may move you to another store depending on what's happening and whatnot. And I was just like, that's crazy.
And the one in town here, originally, because they had put out that list at the end of like, I was like around Thanksgiving. It's like, hey, these are the round of Big Lots that are going to close, and that the one in my town was not going to close. And I was like, cool, I like going to Big Lots. It's a cool store. And then I was just driving by it maybe a couple weeks later one day, and I saw the guy standing there with the fucking 30% off store closing sign. I was like, oh. And like I said, at this point, the last time I went in there, like it's pretty bare. And that's why I wonder for those stores that are told, I'm like, how does that, like, how fucked up is that? Like, you've sold through most of your inventory. Oh, we're going to stay open. Now we got to ship you a bunch of shit and reset it up. That just seems crazy.
I only ever went into a Big Lots because it was our anchor store.
Yeah.
What does it say about our store that our anchors were Big Lots and Party City, and both of those companies are gone?
Oh, God.
Pretty much.
Yeah, right?
Jeez.
Insane.
That was our strip mall. You want to know what our strip mall was, man? I don't know if we've ever explained it to you.
years and years ago, it was a Walmart as well.
So in its final form, when we closed, it was giant empty building that used to be Service Merchandise, Party City, and Big Lots, both of which used to be part of a Service Merchandise, which is a very old company most people won't even remember. I don't even know if it was around other places. The Blood Bank place, which closed. Us, Taekwondo Studio, that was still there when we left, or was it?
It's gone now, but it was still there.
Everything's gone now.
Yeah, it's all town. The whole building's gone.
And then we had the janky trampoline place with the shitty landlord where kids got hurt all the time. GNC. And then that was it.
The Asian buffet.
Sorry, King Buffet, which was awful. But
and then there also was a women's clothing store.
We had a
or something at
the that was the last anchor.
Very last thing, but that also I feel
that was the first thing to go after I started there.
And then after that strip center ended, next to it years ago there was a Cub Foods that then became another grocery store that failed in a summer.
Garden Market,
and then next to it was Garden Fresh. And then the original Walmart in town before they built the super center. Because you think back to the Halo 3 days, that shop center was bumping.
I swear to God, that was a Target at one point too.
I don't think it was ever a Target.
Maybe in the early 2000s.
Maybe that would have been the little bit of the era I wasn't in the area.
It would have been before.
There was a 3-year period I was in Michigan, so
that was before I started at GameStop. Because I swear that's where I bought my GameCube broadband adapter.
It's possible.
Maybe. That place changed. That thing changed a lot. There used to be a bookstore there.
I'm going to say before, when we moved away, because I was gone from the area for a total of 6 years, there was no Target in Crystal Lake when I left in the late 90s.
Yeah, and I think it opened there and then it moved. But
that would make sense, though.
I'm trying to remember, but I can't anymore.
I remember the summer of the Garden Fresh Market.
How did the Dollar Tree even fit in that building?
So Dollar Tree, it fit.
How? But the ceilings are low.
It worked.
Okay.
So Dollar Tree, and I explain this for listeners. So I worked at Dollar Tree before I worked at GameStop, for a while, three-ish years. The Dollar Tree I worked at was originally next door to that GameStop that we both worked at. And then at some point they were like, hey, we're going to move over to the other side of town. In the area where I always thought that when they were originally talking about moving our GameStop, I always thought it would have been nice to move our store that way because we would have been closer towards the edge of town, towards the next town over that would have brought business this way. But there were
a lot of places our GameStop should have moved.
There were a lot, so
it never did.
It never happened. But I will say that it worked. I don't know. Yeah, the ceilings were low, but it worked. Okay. So
I don't think I ever went in it ever.
No. It was. I think it was a little bit before your era,
right before.
To be fair, and then it moved. It might have moved before you started.
It must have.
Now I think about it, because it was
not there.
That was I remember it was May of 20. I want to say it was May of 2012 when we moved. So, because I remember that.
Yeah, you know what? That's right before I got there.
Okay. That is the only time I think I've ever worked a retail job where the business I was actively working at moved locations.
That happened to me once, but it was a private. It was like a privately owned business.
It was a cool thing because it literally was like, hey, your store's closed for the next 2 weeks and you're helping pack shit up, move it.
Our dumbass, it was the first place I worked at was a soccer store. And we moved from, you'll know this because it's next to
Jewel.
No, it's on the other side where Hobby Lobby was, where Hobby Lobby is in that little strip thingy there. We moved from there to across the corner. It was literally like 3 stores down around the corner. It was so fucking dumb. It was half the size. We couldn't fit anything in there. And then luckily, 2 months later, I got the call from Game Crazy to come in for an interview, and I got that job. And I told my boss, I fucking quit.
Yeah.
And then,
and I will say, moving the Dollar Tree made sense because the location we moved to was much bigger, and years ago was a different dollar store.
Yeah,
in the mid 2000s, it was, I forget what it was called, but it was a completely different dollar store.
It wasn't Family Dollar. It was something else.
It was something else. because we had the funny thing was I had an employee at the time that had worked at that dollar store in that store location. So for her, it was like, oh, I'm going back to where I used to be, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it was such a wild thing to move locations.
Yeah.
Like, I'd drive a U-Haul truck. Like, it's weird. So never had to do that in any other job. But that shopping center, yeah, it's just as our time went on at GameStop, we just watched everything else kind of collapse and leave. Big Lots, like then it was like, well, we'll know that it's getting pretty bad when the blood bank leaves.
I never had to help move a GameStop or a Game Crazy, but I did have to help close a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Game Crazies were the funniest ones.
It is.
There were stores that opened after mine that closed before mine did for Game Crazy. There was like 3 of them, and I helped open them all, and then I had to help close most of them. Really funny.
Our final email this week comes to us from Stacy from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Hi, dudes. Been listening to your podcast for just a little over a year now, and I have kind of a reverse recommendation question. I've only recently got into the RPG genre, and I started with Final Fantasy VII Remake and then Rebirth, and absolutely love those. I've never played the original, and Remake was my first ever RPG. I know the Final Fantasy series is basically almost all fully standalone stories, so being I'm just getting into this genre, what would you guys recommend as an RPG? For context, I am not unopposed to turn-based combat or real-time. It doesn't matter to me. I just find, at least with Final Fantasy VII, this genre seems to really revolve around storytelling, which is what I'm into the most. I also really like space, so anything in this genre that would fit into that category. Thanks. I see you wrote some stuff down.
I read it earlier and I was jotting some stuff down, and I think a lot of it kind of depends on how far back you're willing to go.
For sure, because there's one on here where I'm like, that might be a little difficult to obtain.
There's one that's going to be difficult to obtain, but I would recommend it very highly, like as a series of space RPG, which is the Xenosaga series, which not Gears Saga, which is on PS2. Those games vary in quality. Where one is very good, 2 is not so good, and then 3 is pretty good. The main difference between them is they change the battle system between each game, which is kind of strange. But I just remember the story in them being incredibly interesting, especially in the first one.
Yeah.
The first, even you don't even have to play the last 2 if you don't want to. The first one holds up as its own game on its own just fine. That's one of those original games, like long before Metal Gear Solid 4 decided to do it. This game has like 20-minute fucking cutscenes in it.
Yeah, I remember
and they are crazy. I mean, but they're so good. Like, did you play through that game and beat it, Cal?
I never beat
it. There's one cutscene in particular, and spoilers for I'll keep them
25 years.
I'll keep them mild in case Stacey wants to play it.
Sure,
but there's one cutscene. So basically, part of the game is you're in space and these aliens show up, and if they touch you, you die. But they're like they like phase through you, kind of a thing. And the story goes where this engineer Shion and like her boyfriend create these robots that can fight them, and that was Cosmos, who's like the girl on the cover, the girl robot. And there's always this weird theme throughout the game of like, is this robot alive? Like, is it sentient or not? And there's one scene in particular. It's like halfway through the game. It's like a 20-minute cutscene. You're in space, and they're like, "What are we gonna do? These things are coming for us." And they turn around and she's gone. It's because she went outside the ship. She's like standing on top of the ship, and you're like, "What is going on?" And then she does this thing where she's like, Shion, who's like the main girl protagonist, she goes, "Can I feel pain?" And then her eyes change color, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then her like chest opens up, and she shoots this giant fucking laser beam that wipes out. It is an incredibly wild sequence for that game because it kind of starts to flip the game on its head. I loved that game. I love that game so much. That would be the kind of thing where if they could somehow remaster that as a trilogy,
package that as a trilogy,
what a game!
Be cool.
But that being said, it is difficult to obtain. It is expensive.
Especially the late, because I think you recently were just able to get me the first one for a decent price, but the later ones are. And
if you have a way to play the first one, it's a PS2 game. I would highly recommend that one if you're willing to go that far back. Also, in that same vein of like a PS2 game, but at least it's one you can acquire. Rogue Galaxy is a very fun RPG.
That is one where I'd love to at some point just block out a month and just play that.
Very fun space RPG, action based. The story's fun. You're going to different planets. There's lots of good, interesting characters. It's kind of funny and kind of serious at the same time. The mechanics are good. It's just a very good
and
game.
That one at least is important to put out. Like, you don't have to go hunt down a PS2 that's on that PS4 or PS2 to PS4, PS5 backwards compatible digital.
Yeah, great game. A couple other ones I put on here. If you want to stay in the Final Fantasy zone and you want something a little more modern and you want story, you know, like 10 and 12 are both very strong games with very strong stories.
I would say when it comes to Final Fantasy, the smartest thing to do would be watch maybe like a trailer for each one that you're interested to see what the story beat of it is. Right. Because since they all vary.
Yes.
Like, you might not be interested in the Jude Bro story of 15,
right,
but be interested in what's going on in 10.
Right, because 10 is at its core, it's a love story, but it's also an incredibly very well put together turn-based RPG.
Yes.
Like one of the best turn-based RPG systems you could ever have.
If I were to pick another one, since you played the remakes of 7, or at least up to where it is now, 10 would be. Yeah.
Because it has the my favorite thing about how 10 works is the turn-based system where you can see whose turn is next. And you can plan ahead, and certain things will change the turn and all that kind of stuff. So that can become a really, towards the end where you're doing the crazy boss fights, it can become a think about it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And again, very easy to obtain, always on sale. The PS4 version is the international version, so it's got, you can change the sphere grade and stuff like that. It's got extra content. And then I've talked about it on here a lot, but 12 is my favorite. And 12 is, a lot of times you hear it referred to as Final Fantasy Star Wars, because it's very diplomacy is the whole background of the game. And who's at war with who and what's really going on behind the scenes and who's in control. So there's a lot of that stuff. And that game has a lot more story if you want to go digging for it, because the side quests and stuff are little pieces of things. The gameplay in that is very different from both 10 and 7 remake.
7,
because it's not turn-based and it's not action-based. It's, you program them to do things, and it sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But it's, when you get into it and you have the ability later in the game to kind of set them up to attack things in certain ways, it can be very fun to do that.
Yeah.
And then you can also take over at any time you want, cast anything you want. So it's not like you're locked into that stuff. But so if you want to stay in the Final Fantasy lane, those two are both incredibly good games that are not anything close to what you've played before. And then the last one I put on here, then you can go into some more too, Kyle, but I put this one here as a joint recommendation for both of us.
Yes.
Ys 8.
Ys 8, which I think is, that's where I jumped in on the series.
Mm-hmm. It's the first one I really got into.
The difference here is that, with the exception of 2 or 3 games, every single Ys game is a story with the same character, just in a different part of the world that he inhabits.
He falls into a different situation in each one.
Yeah, him and his best friend do. 8 is a wonderful RPG though, and I think that was my favorite RPG of last generation.
Yeah, it's so good. The story is awesome. The characters are all interesting. The music is phenomenal.
I have both 10 and that remake of Oath or whatever sitting here, and I think with playing Agents of Mayhem, I think the other game I'm going to be rolling with once I'm done with Red Dead is the Oath. I think I'm going to do that one first before I do Nordics, because I kind of want to play. I was watching somebody play it the other day a little bit on YouTube, and I was like, I and it's probably shorter than Nordics is, so. But I think that Ys 8 would be a great place to start if you want space RPGs. I think that most recent Star Ocean isn't too bad. The Divine Force or whatever.
I like that one.
That's a very good space RPG. Space RPG is a little bit harder to drill down, I think, for modern stuff. But I think that would be a good one.
I did like that one. That's a game where you can play it twice if you want to too, because you can get both sides of the story.
If you want to go back a little bit further, if you want to go back to the 16-bit era, the two that I would pick of that era, if you could find a version of Chrono Trigger, the DS version is probably the preferable way to play it, or now Steam is a good option now that they patched it 100 times. If you want something in that vein that's a little more modern, that Sea of Stars game would be a really good, if you want, because that would be a really good and similar type of combat to Chrono Trigger.
Hold off on Sea of Stars though, because the complete thing is coming.
Yeah, the complete thing, isn't that like April or something like that?
It's a phenomenal game. I got incredibly hooked on that game.
That's one that's on my list that I need to go back to, but that is a really good, if you want something that's a little more old school. They do have that like Final Fantasy Pixel remaster, but I feel like that might be a little bit harder to get into those.
If you're going to bother.
Just coming into the genre.
Yeah, if you're going to bother.
I think you might want to
5, 4, or 6 individually. You can skip the others unless you fall into like liking that kind of old school RPG.
If you want something that's more action based, when you start thinking about like that kind of stuff, one that I would highly recommend, and there's a good decent remaster of it out now, would be Kingdoms of Amalur. Which was like it did fairly well, I think, when it came out originally, and then there was obviously a big to do with that studio and what happened with it. We're not going to get into, but there's a good remaster of it right now. It's always on sale in the digital store for like $10 on whatever platform you have. But that's a fantastic, like if I'm thinking on the other side of the spectrum for like action-based RPGs instead of turn-based, I would pick that. Or if you've never played any of the Elder Scrolls games, Skyrim at this point is kind of a meme, you know, and a joke to talk about. But like Skyrim is a great place to start for that type of stuff. If you want more of a post-apocalyptic setting, Fallout, you could do Fallout 4, and that would be fine. Even if you went back to Fallout 3, like there are great ways to play those games now between PC, what they've done on the Xbox. Either of those I would highly recommend if you want something that's more of a Western RPG that's more action based. So, but yeah, and then I would say like if you ever want to look at East, which is that's more of a deep cut.
Yeah, I was trying to think of stuff that was like not as obvious and like as that kind of stuff, because you could say stuff like Persona 5. That's a fantastic game. You should play that too. But yeah, that's an obvious. Like Ease is a deeper kind of an cut. Obvious one. Yeah, Star Ocean, that's a good one. That's a deep cut too.
That's more of a deeper cut, especially since you mentioned space, and that's what I was thinking. Right. There's not a lot modern that's space related, but Star Ocean would be one. So, but that's where I would leave it there. So I think that's a good breadth of games. Do you have anything to add to that, Matt?
Final Fantasy VIII. No, I'm just
Final
Fantasy. Honestly, I know I'm not like big in RPGs, and I'm really trying to get in there. I did end up buying Sea of Stars when Black Friday around that time frame hit. So I have a copy sitting up here that I'm going to try to get into whenever I can. I also bought Visions of Mana, last year too. So
I have that waiting too. Yeah.
I played the demo of that and I really enjoyed it. That's why I ended up buying it.
Me too.
I would definitely say, I don't know much about the whole Mana series at all, but I think Visions of Mana was a lot of fun as far as a demo of what I played. I think that was an interesting one to get into. Depending on, what you like, I really enjoyed the Kingdom Hearts series. I know I haven't finished 3, but one was probably one of my favorites when I played it. And 2 was pretty good too, but 1 was top tier for me as far as what it did and how I kind of got into it and why I started collecting everything else that I could find Kingdom Heart based too.
Yeah.
If you like Disney and you like worlds and different stuff like that, it's a good thing to get into. One that I know I haven't talked a lot about is Jade Cocoon. I know back in the PS1 time, it was a RPG that I kind of hit on because I guess I wasn't really I'm not really big into Pokemon right now at all, but I like Jade Cocoon because you could combine your creatures and making different creatures. And while there's probably not a lot that you could do with it at that point in time when I was playing it, it was different than anything else that I had really started playing. So I have a copy of that I'd like to start back up again whenever I can. And that's, and again, I haven't gotten into Final Fantasy. I've played some of 7. I played the remake. I'm going to try to play the remake and Rebirth and just to see how I feel about those. I still want to play through the original 7 just to kind of see what it's like because I still didn't finish it. But I really enjoyed 8, and you can't get me past it. I don't care what you say. I know everybody hates it, but I'll be in the.
There's always 9 as well. I don't think anybody mentioned that.
I've got 2 more and then we can kind of cut it off here just because we're going to go forever. But these are kind of more like ones that I don't think enough people talk about. And number one is Dragon Quest 11. Like that game.
I need to.
If you want to play a modern version of an old school RPG, of a very like old time game, but with modern stuff, Dragon Quest 11 is fantastic. Like it's such a good game. It's such a great game because it's like you'll play through the game and you'll get to a point where like you think you're at the end, and then you realize that game has just begun.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god, like because it flips the whole thing on its head, and like there's like an actual story thing about how it's it's not really spoiler. Like it starts over in a way, which is really good. And then another one that I've always loved, and it doesn't get a lot of credit. And to be fair, the remake of it is not as good. So you would probably want to find a GameCube copy of it if possible. But Tales of Symphonia is, of all, I've played a lot of the Tales games. It's probably my favorite Tales game. I just like the characters in it a lot. I like the story in it a lot. It's really fun to play because it's like you'll go into a battle, but then it's action based where you're like on like a 2D plane and you're running back and forth, doing skills and like actually using your weapon, and like you've got party members who are smart enough to use skills and all that kind of stuff. And the story is just really good. Those are two more deep cuts. You can get that for PS4, but it's notably only runs at 30 frames on PS4 as opposed to 60 on the GameCube, which is incredibly weird. But the game is really good, and if that's the only way you can play it, you could probably get it digital for like $20 at some point. So
I got one other one we can pin it, and I just it's.
I can talk about this shit all day about weird RPGs.
But it's stupid to me that I didn't even think about it, and I'm thinking more when I think RPG. I typically think more turn based, but I don't know why I didn't think of this until just now. But it was mentioning specifically Space Mass Effect, the trilogy.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't want. Yeah.
Even if, like again, it is more of an RPG in the first one, and it gets more action as it goes on, especially by the third one, but. There's a great way to play that now if you're playing on a modern system with that Legendary Collection. They really, really revamped the original game, which really needed it.
The first game is
some of the best.
It's my favorite, but admittedly, it's clunky.
Yeah,
like it is.
Which there is so much quality of life in that Legendary version.
I should play that again.
Yeah, for the first one specifically.
Yeah, I love the first game. You can honestly play the first game.
That's my favorite too.
Not even play the other two if you don't want to. Like you really don't have to, and it's perfectly fine. But yeah, and that first game is my favorite BioWare game, like by far.
Is probably my favorite one too. So that would be that I would put that high up there, especially since you're looking for space. I don't know why I didn't come shit now because I immediately
went like old stuff like Rogue Galaxy and Xenosaga.
I'm
like
going like
old school RPGs that I really like a lot. And it's hard to say old school when you're talking about a PS2 game, but it's true.
There's definitely a plethora of others, but those would be what we would recommend. So
and let us know if you play them. Let us know. I want to know which ones you played.
Yeah, let us know for sure.
Or you tried.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of them could be cheap. Xenosaga 1, you could, if you've got a way to play it, I do recommend it a lot. It's a very good game.
But as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition. Thank you for listening or watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.